Welcome back to everybody here. Just a little change up in our team behind the scenes. Moving from our European team back to the American team. Nick in the background now giving us the production and all of the race action you can see on screen. The voice of choice, Greg Maloney, joining you now for commentary for the next hour. And then G-Max will join me for the last hour into the closing stages of this incredible event that has been the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour. In association with Solidarity E-Race and powered by RaceFace. And a massive welcome to all of our sponsors as well. NEC Corporation, DataSciences Corporation, Oxide, SuperMicro, AMD, and of course Racing Club International in the background scenes, giving us a full production of all the race action that's happened over the last 22 hours of racing. And we haven't missed a beat, that I can tell you. It's been incredible to watch. I know that there is a fourth part of the live stream feed going out on Facebook, so if you haven't picked up on that just yet, just stand by. It's not too far to go. And looking forward to, of course, the last hour here on my own, and then being joined by George G-Max Smith for the last hour of racing as well of the entire 24-hour event. That is Killian Ryan Meaden, who's out front at the helm of this race. 773 laps completed for that team. An incredible effort there from them. And the reason it's such an incredible effort is they're actually down to 2 drivers in that team. There was some issues in the evening and in the nighttime sessions, in the early morning sessions, where one of the drivers unfortunately had some problems, George Boothby, and the other driver involved in that team also having some issues, both on a technical side and a personal side, which unfortunately dropped them both out of the running in this team, and it's left it up to Michael and Killian to take it to the line and hopefully can hang on to the 2-lap lead that they've got over their teammates. Fuzi in the car at the moment, in the teammates' car. A little bit further back, some battles starting to rage for 11th place there, as Barbary in the Bentley looking for opportunities now to keep out the attack from Kuchi. Kuchi's just got through on him by the looks of it, and he's now looking to close that gap down again and return the favor. The Bentley closing on the Audi, and down the left-hand side of your screens, you'll actually get to see how the standings stand at this point in time, with an hour and 47 minutes to go. So some interesting turnarounds that have happened over the last 24 hours, and some more still to come with this hour and 47 minutes of racing to be completed. Carlo Barbary having a super run, and of course the ADA Pro eSport team have had a good run all in all. They're looking to probably get into that top 10. That's what you're going to be seeing for the next hour or so, is the ability of the teams that are just outside the top 10 to try and get into that top 10, or vice versa when it comes to the sort of top 20. 20th place at the moment is Chris Heineke in the Porsche, and that team have worked probably exceptionally hard to get to where they are. We are going to be looking for, of course, a drive of the day or a drive of the race, and that's certainly one team that could be up for that particular prize money that's available. We've got 24,000 Rand in total that we're going to be giving away to all the teams involved here today. 1,000 Rand of that 24 goes to the drive of the day. As I said, Heineke and Olifant in that team have had a really tough time with some issues early in the race yesterday that saw them sit out for a long period of time and eventually rejoin in 46th place. They've now made their way up into the top 20, and that is an exceptional drive. So definitely one that could potentially be one of our drive of the day contenders. It's probably at this stage who is now closing that gap down. It's come down to less or just over a second onto the Audi of Kuchi just ahead. The black and red Audi that you can see just in the foreground or the background of that shot, as the Bentley starts to close things down onto his potential change-up and getting him into the top 10 if he can get through on that Audi of Kuchi's. They're into sunset, no longer sunset. They won't be seeing sunset at all anymore. That's just the reason the circuit is called, or that corner is called sunset, is because on a normal race day, as they go through one of the back markers there, the 8.5 car, just giving up a little bit of room to allow them through. But just to mention, the reason for the name of sunset, of course, is due to the fact that on a normal race day in the late afternoon, the sun sets right down in front of you as you come out of that right-hander and literally blinds a driver as you head towards Clubhouse Corner. Clubhouse, pretty self-explanatory in the old Kyalami days. That's where the Kyalami Clubhouse was for all the drivers to meet up afterwards and talk about the day's racing and have a few quiet cold ones to keep them entertained. And And then, of course, the S is Leeuwkop, which has been the original name. It eventually changed to West Bank Corner and then went back to Leeuwkop in the new version of Kyalami. The mine shaft and the bowl, which they've just been through now, known as Crocodiles. The kink at Cheetah, and this is Ingwe Corner, the final turn at Kyalami. Completing another lap, and certainly some maneuvering happening here from Barbary in that Bentley. He's just getting onto the back end of the maneuvering there for Kuchi, and Kuchi could be, as I said, in a little bit of trouble there if he wants to keep things going the way they are and stay in the hunt at the front end of this race. Stay in the top 10 is what he's looking to do right now, and that's potentially what his plans are. Also just going to try and pick up on some of the comments that are coming out on our Facebook feed, because the Facebook feed is back up and running. And let's have a look and see who's joined us there on our Facebook feed, as well as on YouTube. A massive welcome to everybody who's on YouTube with us too. It's been a big effort to get both of the social media side of things hooked up to ensure that we've got comments flowing and people interacting with us. It is an interactive form of motorsport, which we're trying to actually convert the real racing world into, with our live stream feeds that are going out at the Extreme Festival level, at South African Endurance Series level. And speaking of South African Endurance Series, of course, an endurance race like this, we don't have a real race, a 24-hour in South Africa. We do have an endurance series that runs at various forms and parts of the country. We started our race season, of course, at the incredible circuit in Port Shepstone in South Africa on the KwaZulu-Natal coast. And it was incredible to watch that as well, as the first 6 hour, the Esker 6 hour was completed there in 2 separate races of 3 hours each. And of course we head in 2 weeks time down to the incredible Grand Prix circuit of East London to be part and parcel of race 2 and round 2 of that South African Endurance Series Championship at the East London Grand Prix circuit. So we've got a lot closer here between the Bentley and the Audi as they get into a bit of a fight now for 10th place. You can see how hard Barbary is trying here to try and get that gap sorted out. He's got the gap down to less than half a car length. There's now a possibility to try and find a way through and also not get caught out by any of the back markers that they are lapping constantly around the circuit. Love the fact that we've got shots of the circuit and the outskirts of the circuit as well, because it just shows you how incredibly accurate this Assetto Corsa Competizione game is and sim is, because you've got all the real world aspects thrown in. The livery and the branding around the circuit is exactly as it was for the Kyalami 9 hour 2 years ago, with the sponsors involved there, and of course SRO and Intercontinental GT Championships sponsors involved with that series too. Great to see that the cars are very similarly livered to liveries to what they had in that race meeting too. The guys have had opportunities to choose their own liveries, of course, over the last 24 hours and leading up to this race. That they've got their own personal touch and look and feel to the cars that they're racing in. I know in the previous versions of the Solidarity E-Race, we've actually gone one step further and actually given the guys some skins to play with, which they can put onto their cars to allow us a little bit of extra time and extra leverage of our sponsorship and partners. At the British High Tea and at the Nordschleifer Affair in lockdown, we actually had full sponsorship liveries on those skins that were available for the cars, and got our sponsors a little bit of extra time and not only visual time, but also, of course, mentioning them through the race as well. But of course, we can't do it without any of these sponsors involved, and I can't thank them enough for being involved in such an incredible event. The first ever 24-hour sim race in South Africa. It's the third time that Kyalami has been used for a 24-hour sim, and it's great to be part and parcel of the team that's putting the third one together. RaceFace, of course, getting together with Solidarity E-Race and Ross and Battis in the background, putting it all together and finding RCI as a potential broadcast partner. And it's all been a win-win situation here. There's no doubt about it. Looking for a win-win now still. And a little clip of the curb there from Carlo. Just looking for a chance now to get onto the back end and find a way through on that Audi. But he's not gonna try anything too hectic, because at this point a mistake could be race-ending mistake, and or at least dropping you out of the hunt for the top 10 where he is now. Patience is certainly going to be a virtue here in this last hour and 40 minutes. You will definitely see a lot more attention being paid by the drivers in their attempts to overtake other drivers in front of them. Johan Grobler back out on track, and he maintains his position in that car, partner and teammate to Daniel Rowe, and of course a whole bunch of other drivers in that team. Great to have them as part and parcel of this event. Rowe, of course, has already won out some sprint races for the RCI and RaceFace group. He's now, of course, got a chance of his team ending in the top 7, and in the top 10 is where a lot of guys would have hunted for. That's exactly why they are pushing as hard as they are at this stage. No worries at all, though, for the Bentley. It hasn't put a wheel wrong at all. They've had a couple of close calls and a couple of bumps and barges here and there, but on the whole, in a pretty clean race for that team, the Bentley Team M Sport guys. And of course, that's the same livery as what the original driver, Jordan Pepper from South Africa, ran at the Kyalami 9-hour last year. So certainly great to see that color back on the car. Would have been a number 7 on the side of the car, but they are in 7th place if it had been Pepper behind the wheel of that car. He's got a decent margin and should be able to control easily the 9-lap lead he's got. Here's the move. Barbary getting a little bit more anxious and aggressive in his attempts to get through on the Audi. Get much closer than that. As he comes up under braking, the Audi just cuts his nose off and goes defensive into Crocodiles. Watch for the cutback, though. He'll have the drive on the later apex there, but unfortunately, you can see that Kuchi knows exactly where to place that Audi to ensure that the Bentley has got no opportunity to dive through. Defensive line being taken into the final corner. No change just yet. Kuchi definitely under attack, though. Barbary doing all the attack work. Doesn't have anybody behind him, so that's probably why he's started to make his intentions known, that he wants by, and he wants by badly. So into Oxide, up towards Barbecue, and on to the back straight again. Back markers just ahead could possibly help them out a little bit. Here is our 2nd place car, Marcel Fuzi, doing an amazing job out there as well for the 2nd of the Sidemax Motorworks team, and has also been pretty much unscathed out there. Has found his way through on back markers like the 777 car. No worries at all as he goes past Craig Claessens. He's been at the wheel of the car now for well over 2 hours, so possibly going to be looking to change up the driver into the last hour and a half. Expect to see a possible pit stop from them to get them to the finish line. Joined our American commentary team at about 10:30 last night, and they were all talking about the fact that these cars would possibly need to have some kind of brake change done. Hopefully all those teams have gone into that brake change and changed the brakes on their cars so that they can run to the end without any brake issues. Certainly going to be something that they want to push for. And if that's the case, then they can get to the end and sort it all out. I know that G-Max is in the background as well and sorting out our driver interviews and winner interviews. They're going to come and join us directly after the race to chat to the winners of the race, the best placed South African team, and then of course our drive of the day or drive of the race, whoever that contender may be by the end of this one. 10-second penalty being put onto the Mumford car. That's of course G-Max's team, possibly for some kind of infraction out on circuit. The Aston Martin now having to take an extra 10 seconds the next time it comes into pit lane due to a penalty being implied onto that car. There they are, coming through Sunset Corner. So what these guys are going to start feeling, especially if I look at the drivers in the cars right now, you've got Steelvassen, Cruz, Grobler, Villen, Ali's, Anderson, Claessens, Heineke, Mumford and Daly in those top 23 that have all been in the car since the last time I jumped in to do an attempt of an Afrikaans lap, an Afrikaans commentated lap there by myself. Didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. And, well, it got our production team and other two commentators having a little giggle. Certainly Ryan Gill had a lot better attempt at his Spanish lap in the morning session. And speaking of Spanish laps, well, the opportunities here for our Carlo Barbary to get through are certainly a lot better now that he's caught onto the back end of another slower car in front. This could possibly help him out. He's going to look on the inside line here. Oh, no chance of that happening as the Audi goes defensive. Going to try drive around the outside. It'll give him the inside line for Yuxke. No, he just can't quite get that car up the inside and make the move stick. Two flags waving there for the slower car in front. I think it's the Porsche that they're coming up on. This morning, no, it's not. It's the Bentley. I beg your pardon. They've got through on the Porsche. There's the Porsche. He's moved to the side. Yeah, the Bentley they're coming up on, of course, will be now showing those yellow flags saying that the quicker cars are coming through. Here's an outside line. Watch for the cutback. Oh, the Audi stays on the inside line. Oh, on this head. There you go. The frustration eventually had to happen. There had to be some kind of contact at some point. The Audi going the wrong way around the circuit, getting out of harm's way very quickly. Carlo Barbary has got back in. Let's have a look at that one more time. They come down towards Clubhouse Corner. Wide line from Barbary to try and find. He's going to try the cutback, but as he goes for the cutback, of course, the Audi stays there. He tags the Audi. The Audi comes back at him, and he clips the back end of the Bentley. So those two cars coming together unceremoniously, big time, as they go down the short straight to the S's. It has given Barbary 9th place. But I wonder if the stewards are going to have a look at that and see who was at fault. I don't think many people were at fault there. The Bentley certainly came the cutback on the line that he had and tried to hold. And unfortunately, it was a little tag between himself and the car he was fighting with there, Kuchi, who's now dropped behind. Is that the 97 car? Yes, it is. So our second place car now behind Carlo Barbary. He's going to be given a blue flag, and he allows the second place machine, that Audi, to come through and take another lap on him. So Barbary has moved up into single digits with that move, and we'll wait and see if that's actually a fair and square move and if the stewards find anything wrong with it. I don't think there was much wrong with it there, to be honest. A little racing incident is how I would call it. Milton Steele-Vassen still out on circuit for MSV Racing. That 962 Aston Martin still circulating in the top 5. Don't think we'd see it in the top 5 after a couple of incidents yesterday, but it is all about consistency and staying out, pushing as hard as you can for as long as you can. Steele-Vassen now going through Sunset. Can't wait to see whether or not we're going to be able to get exactly what we see on the side of this track by the end of the year for the Kyalami 9-hour. It happens here at Kyalami Grand Prix circuit for real, and hopefully with some spectator value to it as well. Right now, no spectators at any motorsport, as we all know. Although Formula 1 and MotoGP, I know, are working frantically to try and resolve that and give opportunities for spectators to come back again. Lights flashing there for Grobler as he heads across the line. Just warning the cars in front of him that he's coming. He doesn't want to be hindered too badly by any of the back markers that could potentially spoil his day. That's why he's given very early warning to the cars in front as he starts to close them down. Just getting a little message coming through there. Let's have a quick squiz as to what's happening. All good on that side. That's great. So we continue with our action here. And now looking at the top-placed South African team with Steven Wessels behind the wheel of the Audi. This little R8 has not put a wheel wrong. He's had a couple of incidents here and there, that's for sure. Coming up on another South African team there, of course, the 76 car. Just being another lap taken back on that 76 car. That's Steve Koenig's team. Steven Wessels going past them. And not really troubled by his attempt to get by. Maintains 4th place and is, of course, 5 laps down on the man in third. So I don't think they're going to be able to get up to that third place and get onto the podium. But stranger things have happened in motorsport in the past. As he dives into pit lane, this will probably be for a scheduled stop. Possibly going to be looking to get that car to the finish line now. Is it going to be Vessels who will take it to the finish line? Or are they going to do a driver change? We'll wait and see as they come into pit lane now for that scheduled stop. There is the third place car that they're trying to catch, of course. And it has been a superb effort for the All-In Racing team. Romain UTL in that car at the moment. And maintaining great pace at this point in time. Nice to see that the pace hasn't dropped off too badly. If you look at the lap times on that timing link that GMAX posted on the YouTube channel, and it's also been posted here on Facebook, make sure that you are checking out exactly what's going down on our lap times here, as well as what's happening on the circuit. You can watch the live timing, which gives you all the drivers as opposed to the 23 that you can see on the screen. And they're now kind of getting back into a rhythm as the track temperature picks up to 29 degrees Celsius. The ambient temperature around Johannesburg here is 25 degrees Celsius in the sim world. But of course, in the real world, a little bit cooler than that here on Mother's Day in South Africa. Still just piloting that machine around. This is Ricardo Cruz. He's, of course, down in 6th place for the Ragioli Racing EGA team. Gold Audi has also had a really great race, and on a few occasions was in some big scraps for positions out on circuit. Now with a nice margin to attempt to keep in control. But as you see, coming into an hour and 28 minutes to go, we've got a little bit of a charge coming from JC Krobler in the background there in the Bentley. So if you see this car crossing the line, maybe we get a long shot of it getting down towards turn 2. That's the shot we want. Just watch in the background. Just in the background there, and possibly into the shot comes the Bentley there. Yeah, just in the back. 3 cars back is that Bentley of Krobler. 5.5 seconds adrift. So could be a bit of a fight on here for 6th place if Krobler has got any intentions of closing in on the back end of Cruz. The Lamborghini and then the Bentley just behind that. So that's the one we're definitely going to keep an eye on. Sean Stradham, Logistical Nightmare Team 1. And running in 11th place at this point. 29 seconds back. And a little bit of work to be done there for Stradham if he wants to get into the top 10. I don't know if that's doable just yet, but we'll also watch out for that. So we've got a 6th and 7th place final bit of contenders out there, and possibly a 9, 10, and 11th place race in contention as well there between Barbary, Cucci, possibly Sean Stradham that we're seeing in shot right now. And so they come across the line to complete another lap. That's 786 laps completed. We're certainly going to get way over the 800 laps completed mark in the rain. I heard from our broadcast team from Europe and the States in the rain at the Kyalami 24-hour that they hosted. There were 816 laps completed. We've had dry conditions all the way through, and it looks like they're going to be dry right to the checkered flag. So certainly a chance of going a lot more laps completed in this 24-hour than what we've seen so far. Gucci looking to close that gap again. Trying to use some of the back markers and contenders to give him a little bit of assistance to close in on Barbary in the Bentley. It's down to 3.5 seconds there between Barbary and Cucci. See Barbary just coming through the foreground of that shot. And Cucci now comes into the sight of our cameraman on the sideline. Incredible to see as well from a broadcast point of view. Oh, little problem in the background for one of the Astons. Just getting a little bit out of shape. But, watching out for this lap to be completed. 787 laps now for Cucci. Krobler, this is a man we're keeping an eye on because he's got a chance of course, 5.2 second gap down to Cruz. Is there going to be a chance there for Krobler to maybe make it up into the top 6? A great effort there from that team, as well as they come under braking for Leocop. On the inside of the Lamborghini, getting through on Jordan Daly. Beg your pardon, as they come through. And down onto the mine shaft again. Two Bentleys and a Lamborghini in full flight, always nice to see. Daly looking to try and get through on that second Bentley. I think that may be Runart in the 88 machine there. He's currently in 8th place. So that was 7th place, taking another lap back on the 8th place car and putting 10 laps between them. That must be pretty disheartening at this point in time. Trevor Anderson into the pits. 221 Aston Martin. Redline Racing League coming into the pits now. Will this possibly be their final pit stop as well, with an hour and 24 minutes to go? Pucci looking to close down on that Bentley. The gap come down slightly. No, still about 3 seconds, so not really any change between the Bentley and Cucci in 10th. Maybe he's going to take a bit of a breather and go at it for the last hour or so, maybe into the last half an hour, push to the limit and see if he can maybe just make up that position and get into single digits. On the brakes down into Crowthorne Corner and can see the Bentley up the road. So he just wants to keep him in sight. Craig Claasen's coming in. I wonder if this is going to be for a change-up in driver as well. He's been in the car for a long time. Let's see if he's able to get that all sorted out. The SRMC team. Back to our leader. He's in amongst some of the back markers again. Just controlling things from the front there. Just really an epic drive here from these guys. They didn't lead initially. They, of course, were on pole, but they didn't lead out initially. The initial leaders had some issues of their own and had to pull out due to some technical difficulties that they found, the GTWR team. But since this team at the front, despite the two drivers' inabilities to get back in the car and leaving it to 2 of the 4 drivers entered, they're still in with a chance here of doing the possibly unthinkable. 3 24 hours in a row, back-to-back victories for this team if they keep it all together for the next hour and 22 minutes. It certainly looks like that's what they want to do. Roman Utiel. Nice run here from him. Maintaining some good lap times that will just keep him out of harm's way. Coming up on back markers, timing his overtaking maneuvers on the back markers to ensure that he doesn't get into any more trouble. And you see, that's what you want to be avoiding. You want to be staying out of harm's way in case something like that happens. A car in front of you making a mistake and possibly spoiling your day, or coming in across the circuit where you don't expect them to come across the circuit. So it's going to be a little bit more wary driving out of the top 3, that's for sure, possibly out of the top 10. If you're into that battle for the top 20 or into the battle for the top 30, there may be a lot less courteous driving and maybe some risk versus reward or reward versus risk thoughts going through the drivers' heads. Do they go for the overtaking maneuver or do they hang back and wait for it? Patience is certainly a massive aspect of the racing right now for these guys. Back to Krobler as he completes another lap. That's 789 laps. We're coming up to 790 laps to be completed by the leader, and that won't be too far away. He's up towards the top end of the circuit. In fact, he's down into the bottom end of the circuit right now. We're watching, of course, Krobler as he comes through. It's Yuxka and Barbecue negotiated with no issues. Bringing along the ride for the ride, another Bentley in the background. 2 of them following him and using the lines that Krobler is using. Maybe learning a little bit from the guy in front of you. It's not a bad thing to be out in the car and experience what the quicker drivers can do. We've heard it on numerous occasions, the chat about how pro these drivers are at the front end of the field. Some of them even alien-esque in their abilities to get the cars around in such great lap times.
Greg,
That's exactly what they're doing. Gee, you're in the house.
I am back. I've made
Brilliant.
our provisions to make sure that we'll be able to get all our winning teams through here. First place, second place, and third place interviews. Hopefully all lined up and ready to go once we reach the checkered flag. And then, of course, our best place finishing South African team. We want to hear from them as well. And then, of course, the drive of the day vote that we've all been sort of keeping at the back of our minds. Also going to be up there for an interview. Hopefully get all of those gentlemen and ladies, if they've got some mixed teams coming through, then to come through and have a chat with us once the race is done.
Sounds good to me, man. I'm so glad you're behind the scenes. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Not much has changed. We have got a bit of a fight on for 6th and 7th place, which we've been concentrating a little bit. We're looking at our leader at this stage, one of 2 drivers of the 4. Krobler, as I said, with about 3.2 seconds to try and make up on Cruz. And then the other one, of course, is Barbary and Kuchi, which is about 3.5 seconds for honours in the top 10. So you've got to fight for sort of 6th and 7th place, which could start to become a bit of a factor. You can see the Cruz car going through there, 11 gold Audi, and that is Krobler at the wheel of the Bentley, not too far behind him. It's about the short straight between Clubhouse and S's. That is the gap that can be seen at this point. You'll see it now. There it is. There is the gap between 6th and 7th place. And it's pretty similar gap there for 9th and 10th place a bit further back. That's kind of the battle we've been concentrating on for the last sort of 45 minutes or so.
I mean, it's all kind of to play for now in terms of getting a little bit higher up on that prize breakdown. Greg, I don't know, have you sort of run down through what's up for grabs for these teams at the moment?
I have kind of mentioned that there's a prize fund of 24,000 Rand in total. 3.5 of that, of course, will go to the Super Pole winners, which are, of course, at this stage sitting at the front end of the field as well. So not looking too shabby. But the other factor, of course, is to bring in the prize money is 7,000 Rand for first place, 4,500 Rand for second place, 3,000 Rand for third, 2,000 for fourth, 1,000 for fifth, 700 for sixth place, 600 for seventh place, 500 for eighth, 400 for 9, and 300 Rand for 10th place. That's the prize fund. And then, of course, an additional 1,000 Rand going to the team that takes the drive of the day or the drive of the race, which, of course, we'll announce just at the end or close to the end of the proceedings here today.
I think from my standpoint, I think one of the best elements to sort of approach that drive of the day, because it's been such a long 24-hour race, only 23 hours we've seen, and we've got an hour and 17 minutes to go. So I think sort of where I would put my names forward would come down from the team that probably made up the most positions from the start of the race to the conclusion. So I think, we've got a couple of teams in the contention there. There's still an hour and 17 minutes to go. So those teams still have to get it across the line before we can actually finalize that kind of a vote, in my opinion. So in the background,
it has to, I think it has to be a team that actually finishes. It won't go to a team that sort of put in an effort and then at the last minute, unfortunately, fell out. That would be sort of not conducive to the drive of the day, because the drive of the day needs to ensure that you actually finish the drive.
Agreed. So I kind of like that sort of approach to doing it that way. It's not a biased thing. It's purely coming down to how many positions teams have made up from the start, where they qualified and where they will be finishing. They have to finish. It's critical then for them to see it to the checkered flag. Krobler's still hunting down this, of course, the Hybrid Academy with Daniel Rowe at the captain end of the field, and Arno Visagie, Tariq Adam, and of course Johan Krobler, teammates in that car. All talented drivers, and for me, just emerging talent. I talked about it a little bit earlier on. I've talked about a lot of things in this 24-hour race, but certainly a team that I want to see more coming out of is the Hybrid Academy, and good to see them up within in the top 10. And to have 2 South African entries coming through in the top 10. This is an international event as well, incorporating sort of the best talent that we could sort of attract into the event. And it's been good to see just how the South African teams do stack up against those teams.
Yeah, of course. It's a phenomenal effort that they've put in there, and no doubt about that they could potentially be looking at this as a There's a long-standing relationship between all the parties involved: RaceFace Solidarity, Racing Club International, and of course the sponsors involved. So if that's the case, then we can keep it all together and going for all the time, and hopefully make up an annual event out of this. It would be certainly well worth the effort being put in by everybody behind the scenes. I'm just picking up on a few of the sort of comments you've made about that, and looking at how things stand at this point in time. One team that I'm trying to see as to where they've ended up from their start positions was, of course, the car we were watching a few seconds ago there in Grobler with his teammate Daniel Rowe, how far they've made up ground. The other car, of course, that I sort of mentioned in commentary, I'm not quite sure if you heard it while you were working in the background, was the fact that the Porsche team of Chris Heineke and Oliphant, having been out for nearly an hour and 45 minutes yesterday, starting in 46th position when they eventually returned to the track, and currently sitting, I think it's in the 20th or 19th place overall, also must be in the running for an invaluable effort in their attempt to get back to the front of the field.
For sure. I think all of those sort of contenders are up there. The Hybrid Academy that you were talking about, they actually started in P11, so just outside the top 10. And they've managed to just hold themselves, get inside the top 10. PWSR, of course, started in second, then fell all the way down the grid. That's the team with Heineke and, of course, the likes of Leslie Oliphant and Alan Patterson, as well as Kieran Patterson in it. They've certainly kind of just put their head down and focused on where they wanted to go. You know, it's certainly one thing to have a bad race circumstance coming down, but when you look towards the end of the clock, it's all taken place and taken shape for them, making sure that they can get themselves back into a position that they'll be proud of course, currently sitting in P19.
Yeah, I like the fact that we've just had some information sent our way. At this point in time, drive of the day, teams in the running could possibly be the Redline Racing League. They've made up 15 positions from their original starting position. We've got 13 positions from Retro Esport, 13 positions from Sonic Sim, 13 from the Flying Gypsies, and 12 from the MEW Racing Works team. So car 221, 738, 91, and 85 certainly in the running for the way we're looking to possibly award this. So yeah, that's nice information that's been given to us there from RaceFace and Battis Hugo. Ooh, that was a little nasty there, hey?
I mean, there are a lot of GT3 cars at the top of Leeuwkop. Looking from this view down at the bottom of Mineshaft, it's just almost like a race in itself. But cars battling out for position, and cars, of course, trying to make it through the blue flags. You see them being waved on the sideline. Drivers will be aware inside their cars of who they're taking a battle against. But for Mulder in that number 24 Bentley, it's 2 seconds gap down to the back of the lone BMW M6 on the grid. So trying to just catch up and see if the BWR Viper, or sorry, this is the BWR Griffins entry, if they can get themselves something done before we see the conclusion of the race. So
incredible start there from these guys, I got to say. It's now to get to the end of this race and to be in this kind of a fight just shows you that there's no holds barred, even when the fat lady hasn't even been called for just yet. You know what I'm saying? She's nowhere near the building just yet, guys, just to give you a heads up. So if we look at the current standings on the left-hand side of the field, Quail in 17th place, currently making up 13 positions from his start position in the Retro Esport Alpha team. Just up the road from him will be car 221, I should say. 738 is just up the road from them. And if you look at that of course is Gray behind the wheel now of the Redline Racing League Bentley.
Other way around, Greg. The 738 was
other way around. Yeah, beg your pardon.
Correct. So the 738 would be Retro, and the 221 would be the Redline Racing League entry.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the way that they stand at this point in time, Redline Racing League is ahead of the Retro Esports Alpha team, and despite them only making up 13 positions, they are ahead on the racetrack, which is another factor that we have to bring in. You know, they've made up a certain amount of ground and X amount of positions from their start position on the grid. have they finished up ahead of the other cars in contention? That's another factor that we need to look at.
I think good observations coming out as well from our YouTube chat comments. I know you're monitoring on the Facebook side. JC Grobler, of course, from Arashi Racing, just highlighting that for that Hybrid Academy team, piloted or captained out by Daniel Rowe, they also had a disconnect, and that put them down a long way in the field, and they've had to sort of make up a lot of positions to get themselves up into P7. So, even the choice of maybe Hybrid Academy featuring up their PWSR, having to climb back through the field. Those two teams certainly not just based on where they started the race to begin with, but having to overcome the adversities of having some of those disconnect issues. Also being, in contention for maybe getting a drive of the day.
And certainly if they can get themselves into the top 6, that will be a firm favourite, I think, amongst a lot of the drivers and teams in the background. And they would kind of attest to what we would say is a drive of the race or a drive of the day. Coming out of that team that we're watching right now across the line. Super effort there from them as they head down towards Crowthorne Corner again, starting to close in rapidly now on Cruz just up the road. So the battle is on here for 6th and 7th place, with an hour and 9 minutes to go.
An hour and 9 minutes to go. I never thought that we'd be at this stage of the 24-hour. When we started things out, Greg, it was certainly something that I kind of highlighted in my head. We would get here at some point, and as we get closer and closer to that checkered flag, I know that a lot of the teams here will be on that final push. They've been motivated for a long time of driving and swapping those cars out, giving it into your teammates' hands, putting some trust into your teammates' ability to be able to, even be able to get a little bit of shut-eye if you can. We heard from JC Grobler. He came through, just let us know that they were kind of taking 30-minute power naps. We obviously haven't had all the teams coming through for interviews, but it's certainly been interesting, the feedback that we have had from the drivers coming through.
Certainly has. I love the interviews that the guys are pulling in the late night shift there with yourself and Rara, and as well as with Mike and Jesse. The insight that you guys have got, and of course the personal knowledge and personal friendships that you've made over the years being involved in the sim racing world. It's like when I'm on the side of a racetrack and I'm doing live commentary, or I'm doing a live stream commentary, or even live television commentary. The ability to sort of have that race driver's contact, or a possible contact that you can find out more information about what's happened out on track or what's happened to the driver is vital. And it just gives you that personal touch as a commentator to say, these are just real people that just like you and I, they get up in the morning and they go to work and they do what they do, but they can maybe drive a car a bit quicker than we can, or get into a sim racing car and do a slightly better job than most people can. But at the end of the day, to have them on a WhatsApp or on a SMS or on a straight call basis where you can go, listen, what happened? And you get that feedback almost instantaneously, just makes our job, and of course the interaction that we've got with people on social media, that much more valuable.
Talking about SMSs, Greg, the only time I get those are when debit orders come off my accounts.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the old school drivers here in South Africa. Some of them are still on SMS. They haven't gone to WhatsApp just yet. They haven't gone onto Telegram or anything like that. So it's just the old school guys I'm talking about out there. But most of those old school guys, to be honest with you, have got some form of smart device now. And an interesting story, which I'd love to share with you, of course, heading to the East London Grand Prix circuit in 2 weeks' time for the South African Endurance Series race, round number 2, was the fact that we were there 2 years ago, and a outright lap record around that circuit was broken by Stuart White, who of course you would probably recognize the name from as one of SA's finest export drivers, and part of the Sauber F1 team development squad, and now part of a Bentley racing team in the Intercontinental GT support series. But he broke the lap record in an LMP2 Ginetta. And we were chatting about how awesome it was to have that lap record broken for the first time. I think it was in about 60 years. And the man who set the outright lap record, a certain Mr. Schechter, Ian, not Jody, jumped in on our live stream and actually showed us the original timesheet which he'd kept from that race and posted it into the comments section. And of course, then the banter just went wild. It was incredible. It was really, really cool.
It's so cool to get your feedback on these kind of things as well, Greg. I mean, you've got a lot of experience in the real live motorsport world, and it's always cool to kind of get a little bit more insight into the behind the scenes and how these things all sort of function out. As you know, from my side, it's mostly just been around this gaming and sim racing scene, and I think it's an honor and a privilege to be able to share the box with you. You bring a lot of good insights into what happens in the real live world of motorsports, and certainly something that I aim to try and get myself into in the future.
Well, I was sad to see you step into the microphone and camera and find out that you've made the expedition and extraction out of South Africa into the greener pastures of the United Kingdom. It's certainly something that my missus and I were looking at, having been across there to do the Isle of Man event with Alan John Fenter. But needless to say, whenever you're back home, when we know this is your home, but I know that you're making your new home in the UK, when you come back to the awesome pastures here in South Africa, I can't wait to get you Mike's side at one of the events that we do around the country. And of course, with things opening up here on a bigger scale, and with the more opportunities to have some more people involved, it's the likes of yourself and Clark. I know Variq got Carl Lawrence, who's just literally taken over go-karting from my side, because I just can't handle all of that at the same time. In terms of our commentator search out of Solidarity E-Race, I would love to have you at the side of a racetrack with me.
I'll certainly take you up on that offer. I will be back in South Africa as often as the time allows me to come back. Like you said, it is my home, and my family still is very much planted on that side. So when I do get the opportunities to come back on that side, I'll hit you up, and maybe we can make a plan for something like that to happen. We see the Sidemax Motorworks number 97 peeling into the pit box. Killian Ryan Meenan in the front running Sidemax Motorworks car, that number 96. They've just completed 800 laps here, so we have hit that 800 lap mark, and still with an hour to go. We have plenty of laps still to go.
Yeah, I think so. If you look at the first hour of this race, I think we completed just under 100 laps. But of course, that was with a lot of traffic and a lot of clean air initially for those first cars to get out front and put in some hot laps at the front. So I would say, attempting a guess, we're going to be close to the 900 lap mark, but maybe not just there yet. But let's see what happens in this next hour, because certain things can, of course, hinder that progress. I am going to once again say to you, as soon as you hit the ground and you are in South Africa, the first WhatsApp besides to your family is to me, please, to say what's happening on the motorsport scene. Where can I come and talk, what we say in Afrikaans, that K-A-K word with me as much as possible.
I would love to do that, and maybe on this side I can do some remote broadcasts out to some of the events that take place at some of the international circuits. Broadcasting out to some of your Facebook pages as well. If you need an international correspondent to give you the South African feel, I'm certainly planning to try and visit some of the legendary circuits around Europe and obviously within the UK.
Well, if all goes according to plan, and in 2022 I get the opportunity to go and represent South Africa as a journalist, as well as the social media and PR manager for Alan John Fenter at the Isle of Man TT, we'll definitely be hooking up and making a plan to get you across to that as well. Because if you want to see anything in terms of a spectacle in motorsport, in my opinion, there is nothing to match the Isle of Man TT.
No, it's
maybe the 24-hour of Kyalami, though. Could be right.
I think we have to throw it up there. Of course, our pure storage Kyalami 24-hour. It's been so stunning to see all these teams and these entries coming through, battling it through from the start in the midday, make it through the nighttime stints, and of course fast approaching that 12 o'clock ending time. Talking about that Isle of Man TT, I certainly would love to go and witness a spectacle like that. I think a lot of my YouTube history would indicate that I quite like following those things. I just
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly why I'm saying it.
And when I first moved over here, I went and spent some time on the island of Jersey. That's where I came over for the first month or so before moving over to England. But in my mind, I thought that the Isle of Man, being a Channel island, was pretty close to Jersey and to the UK, but seeing that it was closer to the island side, I worked out that it was quite a far distance away. So certainly on my radar for a place to travel and visit.
It is indeed, and certainly something that you definitely want to miss out on. Even if you just get across for the classic TT, or even just the Northwest 100, it's certainly something pretty spectacular. But as I said, if the opportunity does arise, as we get into the final hour of racing, man alive, 59 minutes to go. G-Max, 59 minutes of potential drama still to unfold here in South Africa, Johannesburg, and it's at the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit.
Final closing phase, and for these drivers, it's now just time to get the cars across the line. Lots of the battles have sort of been sorted out in the duration of the 24 hours of racing that, or 23 hours of racing that they've been doing. And for some of the teams, of course, there are close gaps that they could maybe close down, maybe some pit stops that are going to factor in, where maybe a team was just outside of a different strategy, may be able to close out. But certainly if you look at the timing sheets, some big gaps between the teams too. So we can't discount the fact that a lot of these teams have just been putting in hard work for the whole race, not leaving things to the last minute, like I used to leave my Afrikaans homework.
Or my Spanish. Listen, G, I'm going to ask you one favor. My queen is about to leave the garage, so there's going to be a bit of background noise. So I'm just going to mute myself out for 2 seconds and let her just get out of harm's way, and I'll come back and join you in about a minute's time.
Totally cool. So having a look here at Brian Lewis from the Arashi Racing team. He's back in that car, and of course, good job being done by the co-pilots, Vessels and Krobler, getting themselves up into this P4 spot. They've got quite a way to go to try and get themselves onto the podium. So we had a little chat to JC Krobler earlier. He let us know that they'd be happy to just wrap things up in this sort of a spot, defend it, not get themselves further down the field. A little flash of the lights coming down to the braking zone for Crowthorne, that left-hander. Seen many incidents take place here. Guys looping it around, a couple of contacts coming through. But that flash of the lights, if you are joining us late into the broadcast, just a heads up to the drivers that are around them to let them know that they will be coming to make the overtake when you are getting blue flagged. Just giving the space, just lifting off, being predictable. Always the name of the game for the Arashi Racing team. They've had a stunning drive. Just a three-man team, the smallest of the teams allowed in the minimum entry for position, and allowing them to sort of share that entire 23-hour stint between themselves. As far as we understand, Brian Lewis will be the driver that finishes off the stint. And in terms of interviews, when we finish things off, we're hoping to get the top finishing South African team in here, as well as winning interviews with teams in first, second, and third. As those places stand, they almost seem wrapped up to take place without them, bar them having a disconnect at some stage. We had word as well from our race organizer, Bertus Hugo, in the background, that Malinowski doesn't have to do an additional lap in that number 96 lead car. He has completed one lap so far. And looking at this IDA Pro Esport number 158 entry, Emmanuel Cardinali is, in terms of gaps behind, just 1.3 seconds behind the likes of Rideau in that number 88 Bentley. So Bentley on Bentley action coming shortly as they head down into Clubhouse.
Certainly, thanks for that one. Just apologies to everybody for jumping in and out there quickly, but I didn't want to have the garage door opening in the background and causing some issues on our broadcast. But once again, thanks there, G-Max, for holding the fort. But yeah, there is a bit of a fight on, as I said. I thought it might be a bit closer there between the 666 Audi as well, because there's 5.5 seconds to that car and 1.1 to the second Bentley. So kind of a three-way battle to who's going to be the final two positions in the top 10. Single digit up for grabs and the 10th place up for grabs here.
And I mean, that prize money that comes through, I mean, if you're outside of that top 10, you're not going to score anything. You come in 10th, you get a little splash of cash into the back pocket, certainly enough to just have a celebratory drink or two. But as you look up towards the prize-paying positions, it does sort of benefit you to finish higher up the order. So you're always going to be pushing, always going to try and have that drive. And right now, the IDA Pro Esports 158 Bentley making good pace on catching up to that number 88, getting that gap down from 1.3 seconds now to just short of 9/10. And as we see them coming through, looking very stable too in that entry. So, commentators curse, getting a bit of loose out of barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
We see the back end just heart skipping a beat, but keeping it pointed the right way and able to continue the chase down. But those small little mistakes, those are the tenths that can be costly when you look at the checkered flag at the end of the race. Think, we could have caught them. We could have maybe done a little bit more. But whilst you're in that 1 second space, so many opportunities to get a move done.
The moves are going to be the crucial moves now. It's moves that won't cost you any more time on track or make you make a mistake that you don't want to be doing at this point of the race. Or is it a case of just waiting patiently for the mistake to be made by your counterpart and the man that you're up against? I think that's also a vital thing to be looking at right now is, do they go and make those moves? Do they go and attempt to get the overtaking maneuver done? Or do they wait for a mistake out of the car and then pounce? It's always a difficult position to be in, particularly with less than an hour to go.
Can't push too hard either. You got to be very careful of that double-edged sword. You want to make up a place, but pushing too hard and making a mistake here can put your entry into the wall, and you're just going to lose time on making up those positions. So both of those Bentleys actually catching up to the BBR Racing 666 entry. So 5 seconds between them. You kind of need the 88 and the 158 Bentley to work together to catch up to this Audi sitting in 9th place. And for Grunwald, he kind of wants them to get into a scrap themselves and cost them time on catching up to him.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Grunwald is attempting not to happen. He wants to try and put some traffic between himself and those two hard-charging Bentleys behind him. Grunwald, though, of course, now into the last part of this race and has probably been given the duties to take it to the checkered flag, is going to have to be very wary about the intentions being shown there from both of those Bentleys on his tail. And they'll be watching those gaps pretty crucially right now, and probably with the big microscope out there to ensure that nothing goes wrong for their potential single-digit figure finish up here for the Audi team.
Just eyes down, not looking into the rearview mirror, trying to just avoid thinking about what could potentially happen if they do catch up to you. I think that's where they're going to be focused on. And for Richard Grunwald, just doing exactly that. Drive-through penalty for Franco Joubert. As is it Franco Joubert?
I think it's Franco Joubert, yeah. Franco Joubert.
I heard you giving our American commentary team some
we gave the American
lessons.
guys a bit of fun there as well, yeah.
We didn't.
They gave me hell about Jose Jorge's.
Jose Jorge. That's,
yeah, so I had to go with that one.
I also I butcher that every time I commentate on someone that looks like they've got my second name or my first name as their it confuses me as well. So
yeah, exactly.
It's difficult to get all the pronunciation right of drivers and teams. It's sort of in the nature. Once you get corrected, you can only try your best to keep them impressed. But yeah, I mean that's kind of part of commentary and mastering the art of learning drivers and names, I suppose.
Correct. But also to take no knock on our side, there was a call from Solidarity E-Race to all of the drivers to send us that information. Send us vital information about who you are, what you do, where you come from, where you're based, who your teams are, where, all that the sort of background information, which comes into play now. When you're into the middle of the race and there's nothing happening, you want that ability to draw on that information. And then, of course, the other option that was sent to them is please send us a sort of a phonetic way of pronouncing your name. So is it Cardinal or is it Cardinal? Is it Radloff or Radloff? Is it Heron or Huron? We got to take those into account. And I mentioned it to both Mike and Jesse, saying, it's always lovely to hear when somebody walks up to you and says, "Oh, by the way, my name is George Smith," and you've been pronouncing it as Smythe for the last 5 years. thanks for that, Greg. I'm like, well, have you had the ability to talk to me in the last 5 years? Yes, you have. You could have told me that 5 years ago.
It's certainly something that's happened multiple times before. I saw the Americans teaching you how to say Chumley's name as well, which for months
Yeah.
I was calling it
Wow.
Shulmandili, and I felt quite embarrassed when his supporters came in and told us how to say it. So I'm glad that you got introed into some of the fun side that we've had over at the Racing Club International scene.
Well,
And
just
good
think
to
about
have
the
you.
first couple of events we've been involved in together. I mean, how many times did we get the names wrong at Kyalami? And you were one of the guys who jumped in and said, "Oh, by the way, it's I can't even remember the driver's name. Absmeyer we got right, but there were a couple of the local sort of top contenders that we got completely wrong."
We still get
Is
Absmeyer's
it
name wrong. It's Absmeyer. You gotta
Absmeyer?
roll it.
Okay,
Absmeyer.
so there's a mayor. Could have a little roll on the R there, but there was another guy as well that was involved in our first event that we sort of had a.
Bruno Cadley.
That's it, Cadley. That's the very guy. That's the one.
Bruno Cadley,
Sasha and I
yeah.
could just not get that right. It was yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean,
We
to be
got that
honest,
all wrong.
even over on the ATK Pro Series, they often get his name wrong as well, and it's a bit of fun. If you go and check Bruno's Twitter account out, shout out to Bruno, one of my pro drivers at WRG. He kind of says that no, he doesn't have Twitter, and he calls himself Bruno No Twitter, and then yeah. Bruno Cuddly is his surname there, like literally Cuddly. So
Cuddly,
just
as in Cuddly.
yeah, just playing with it, and Ian McKenzie helping us out in the YouTube chat with remembering such good memories.
Ross throwing a couple out on the WhatsApp as well to me, saying, it was when we thought the two Kruger boys were brothers, but they're actually not even related. They don't even live in the same town. So yeah, we do get it wrong on occasion, but we try and get it right as many times as possible, and that's part of the entertainment that can happen over 24 hours. And more entertainment coming your way as the two Bentleys are now half a second apart.
They are half a second apart. They've also eaten into that 5-second gap that 666 Audi had, and dropped that down to 3 seconds. So both the big boats making progress on the racing circuit, and together looking to maybe get themselves both into the top 10. That 666 Audi going to be well aware that the pressure is coming down, and very shortly we'll start to see them all in shot.
Yeah, it's not too far away from getting all three cars in the same shot, that's for sure. I love the way that you've gotten onto the boat side of things. I know that our young compatriot was mentioning that he sort of refers to the Bentleys as the big boats out on track. It's kind of indicative of the racing that happens at Swartkops Raceway here in South Africa at the beginning of each of the seasons. We missed out on the first one this year with the Passion for Speed Festival being postponed to the middle of June. But in that category, of course, we've got the legends of the 9-hour saloon cars, and those big Ford Galaxies have always been touted as the blocks of flats racing around Swartkops. That's how big they are. So it's always lovely to have those sort of little innuendos that our commentary team bring in, and certain little nicknames that get thrown out to drivers as well as cars.
Always fun, and I think a lot of the Boatley names coming from the sim racing side, just they're pretty good in the wet conditions. I think with drivers here thinking that rain would come out, the Boatleys would have certainly been happy to see the heavens open up, but staying dry out on the circuits. And
change up. There's the change. It's got through. Cardinal has got through there, I think, on Rideau, or Rideau's got through on Cardinal, I should say. There's a change up there between the two of them. So 10 and 11 swap out. Ooh, it's not over yet, is it?
It's still brewing up. I think the 158 Cardinali is still catching up to Rideau, isn't it? So
he had a look though, and it looked like he got through. Yeah, they got. I think just before that there was a change up between the two of them. But it's not over yet. These two are going to go at it, and I think this is certainly one of the battles we're going to concentrate on into the closing stages.
It's certainly brewing up, and they're still catching up to that 666 Audi, even though they are starting to get themselves into their own on-track battles. 4.3 seconds is the gap. I guess losing a little bit of time in the scrap that they're having, but keeping that gap within 5 seconds, and certainly need to work together, which doesn't work out. Teams don't really care about making that progress together and catching another car. You're fighting out for pride and position. And of course, Rideau sitting in that final prize paying position. They were going to want to defend that. If they don't catch up to the Audi, that's okay. But they certainly don't want Emmanuel Cardinali to be able to get through.
Let's have a look and see as they come onto the front straight on the main straight now. Heading down the hill, probably the long shot down towards the Crowthorne corner at turn 2. Possibly going to see the very first time. I saw just a glimpse of it in the previous shot of all 3 cars we're talking about. There you go. In the foreground, the red and black Audi. And in the background, and now concentrating on those 2 Bentleys coming into Crowthorne corner. First time on that previous lap and now into this lap that we're seeing all 3 cars involved in that battle. In with a chance of spoiling each other's days for those final positions in the top 10. Bentley's continuing to fight it out as they come out of Sunset and back down towards Clubhouse corner. Pressure is certainly on Rideau. A lot less pressure coming in form of this man, Emanuele Cardinale, who's on our onboard shot right now as we go through the S's, heading up towards Leeuwkop. You can see just the cars up the front end there. That, of course, is Grunwald in the Audi. And both of these Bentleys are trying to catch to take that single digit away from him. I wonder if there'd be any communication between these 2 Bentley teams saying, listen, I know we're fighting hard here for our own positions on track, but let's maybe work together until we get to the Audi, and then it's every man for himself. I don't know if that would be a possibility, but certainly if I was a team principal in these 2 teams, I would be saying to each other, okay, look, we've got a chance of 9th place here. We are well within each other's grasps here of spoiling the day for each other in terms of the top Bentley in this little battle. But maybe we should try and spoil the Audi's day before we go and sort things out amongst ourselves. Could be a possibility of the team principal's thoughts. Straight him into the pits, just in the background, watching him go in. He's, of course, in 11th place. And he is too far back to have any influence on the battle now between these 2 Bentleys and the Audi there for 8, 9, and 10 on track. Leader into the pits as well. Final pit stop here, possibly just for a quick splash and dash. I don't think there'll be anything major that has to be done to this car. It hasn't been involved in any incidents. And it looks like a drive-through penalty being awarded to car 24 as well. I'm not quite sure, probably for exceeding track limits. It's probably reasons that those will be given up now as they get into the thick of it. George is jumping out and heading into the steward's room to sort out a couple of things, I'm sure, to ensure that we are back up and running by the time we get to the end of 42 minutes of racing left to go. And still a huge fight here between the 2 Bentleys as they head up the hill. They can see the Audi now. The Audi is the next car in their sights. So as I said, I wonder if there was a bit of communication there between the team principals of these 2 Bentleys saying, listen, let's work together until we get up to the Audi. And then let's make it a 3-way fight for what is going to be 9th and 10th place, 8, 9, and 10th place on track. 2 single-digit figures up for grabs, and of course, the elusive top 10 finish for all 3 cars. They're in the top 10, but it's how they're going to finish up in that top 10 now.
Sorry about that, Greg. Just having a little technical difficulty of my own there. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear again.
I can. There's a little bit of an echo, so you may just want to mute one of those inputs that you've got. There's a bit of echo there for you.
Okay, I should all be muted up, and there we go.
Perfect. There you go. Got you 100% now.
Phew, my heart dropped as I just saw everything freeze up on my side, and thought, no, this can't be after a 24-hour race. This can't be the way that things end. So I'm glad to still get back in, see that the Bentleys are still fighting. Honestly, my heart sank inside my body. I'm glad that it has come back to normal. I'm glad to see that we still got that battle taking place here between the Bentleys as they try and catch up to that 666 Audi. I believe this is the closest on-track battle.
Yeah, there he is right there. The Audi goes through Sunset, followed by the 2 Bentleys. There's literally about 1.4 seconds between those 3 cars. And the battle is on. I was just saying, when you jumped out, and I'll just reiterate it just to get your comment on it, do you think there may have been some communication between the 2 team principals of the Bentley team saying, listen, let's work together until we get to that Audi, and then every man for himself?
No, I do not think that they've thought about that. So I think these 2 teams are fighting it out, and the 2 of them, if they catch the team, they catch the team. But I like to believe in my narrative that drivers do work together to catch up to a car in front. But I think it goes down to really where you want to finish when the checkered flag drops down. And at this stage of the race, probably not that communication coming down.
Not that communication either. Looking at just up the road from this little battle as well, they've also actually closed down on Krobler. I think Krobler might just be easing off slightly to try and ensure that they get the finish that they've got to. Moving up into the 5 spot ahead of Cruz. We missed that one while we've been watching this little Bentley. But of course, the Bentley that Krobler is piloting there, Daniel Rowe's team, has now up into the top 5 and found a way through there on both Keeble in the Aston Martin and on Cruz in the Audi. So a top 5 finish, and now we've got 2 South African teams in the top 5.
We wanted just looking at things at the moment, it is certainly going well for the hybrid academy team. They've fought against a lot of adversity in getting themselves up to that spot. So a very good showing from that 404. And look at these Bentleys going almost heel to toe going through, and on the inside line will stay the likes of Rideau, the number 88, trying to squeeze out the 158. They got to be careful coming into the S's here, Greg. They can't end their races here, and Cardinale just not quite on the line that he wanted to be. Had to tap off slightly to go through the S's, and we're starting to get some hard racing. This is going to cost them time in making up positions to Grindelwald. This is where they are going to find that they will cost themselves time. But you can see that Audi, that black and red Audi at the bottom of the shot as they come down the hill for Mineshaft. They are catching up. They are, but when they're going sort of side by side like that's when it will work in the Audi's favor.
And the Audi's made up a little bit of ground there, I think, because of that little battle. It was actually a mistake out of Rideau. He ran ever so slightly wide out of one of the turns heading up towards Sunset, and of course that just got him out of shape, and that gave the opportunity for what we just saw, the action from the S's down to the final corner. And there was definitely some blood in the water, and I think Cardinale was looking to try and capitalize on that.
Trying to see if they could get themselves up into that spot with 38 minutes to go on the clock. Now down into Crowthorne, trying to just squeeze that breaking point. We've seen how that 158 does manage to close down that gap, especially at the end of that start-finish straight this time around as they make their way through the sweep. Not quite going to be in the same position as Rideau, trying to make amends from what happened on the previous lap. You said it was coming into here that they weren't carrying the speed. Round the outside, Cardinale going to try and send it and see if he can hold on to the inside line then for Clubhouse. They are almost alongside, almost a little tap coming through. Later on the brakes, they are going to go for the squeeze, and Rideau going to be on the outside. Cardinale then in that 158 going to be on the inside line.
Wow.
Now the two of them really driving close together. This is close proximity racing, and good respect being shown from both drivers coming through. What a battle between the Bentleys as they still try to catch up to the likes of Grindelwald in that 666. 666, this is where the smile starts to happen. You see these kind of battles taking place. You have to give room to one another when you're alongside, and that can be costly. But this 158, Greg, just trying to squeeze a raid through, a little cutback maybe, a look onto the inside of Crocodile. It's a big touch, and going to loop it round as well. Kind of skipped over the curb there. Both cars kind of going off the racing line, but we will get a racing replay of exactly what has happened there as they make the exit out from the top. You can see here trying to look on the inside, and a little bit of grass being dragged up there. The brakes not going to be as functional coming through there, and at least not facing the wrong direction, but all that hard work being made up between the 158 and trying to catch up to the 88 going to not pay off at that sort of time, as we see the 520 of Stradum getting allocated a drive-through penalty for exceeding the track limit. So they're going to have to serve that out, the logistical nightmare team in P11 at this stage of the race. Also a good showing from them.
Now, just behind that battle we've been watching, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, picked up on, is it UTL, who's jumped in between those two Bentleys that were fighting so hard with the off-track excursion there for Rideau and Cardinal with a little touch down into Crocodiles. I think we might have the third place car tucked in the middle of the two of them as they head in there. I just want to make sure on that one. I think it's possibly the blue Bentley. We're watching Romain UTL at this point in time. Yeah, there he is. That's exactly right. He's now in between those two Bentleys that were fighting for the final positions of the top 10.
So not a place that you want to find yourself, with cars battling for actual position on track and being completely different laps between you. But the All-In Racing Bentley has done a great job just holding down onto that third podium sitting spot. So Side Max Motorworks first and second, and then All-In Racing currently sitting in that third podium spot. We're looking at that battle to see who's going to finish inside of the top 10. Cardinale in that 158 was pushing, and suddenly pushed a little bit too hard, missed the braking zone, coming down into Crocodile, and that's now put them back behind also an Aston Martin that is some lap traffic. So they're going to be trying to clear this, as well as then continue up the field and try and get back onto the back end of that 88.
If he's careful in his attempt there, I think the best option might be to climb onto the back end of Utiel and allow him to do the blocking roll and set the pace to close that gap down again on Rideau. So Cardinal, I think, should be thinking that way to try and get that gap bridged as quickly as possible, because he is running out of time. You know, we were talking about an hour ago, they were so close, half a second, up to 0.1 of a second between them. We've got 34 minutes to go now, and it's moved up to about 2 or 3 seconds. In fact, 2 seconds, just under 2 seconds there, 1.8 to be exact on the timing between those two cars. So, yeah, I think if he's clever, you're going to see Cardinal tap onto the back end of that third place Bentley and allow it to pull him up to the man he was fighting with earlier on.
Looking at Simon Keeble for the MSV Racing 962 Aston Martin. They're only 1.3 seconds off the back of that Hybrid Academy 404. So Grobler got to do a good job to make sure that this Aston Martin doesn't come and rob them of that fifth place with only 33 minutes to go. Going to just keep an eye out on that gap and see where it comes down. Should be coming down to a timing line to see an update. 1.31 seconds was the gap prior. And we'll cross over the line and get feedback shortly as they continue to try and get onto... it looks like Grobler did actually go into the pits. So the 404 Bentley going into the pits for hybrid, and that will be the update coming through on the timing sheets on the left side. So Keeble up into fifth place.
Will that possibly see them drop to seventh again, as Cruz could potentially take that position back if they're in the pit lane? You said in one of the commentary stints that you were involved in, it's about a minute or so for a pit stop if you've got no penalties. If he gets back on track, he may just be able to stay ahead of Cruz. As he gets back on the circuit, we'll get an indication of that. I think he might have just been able to do it to the tune of 6.5 seconds. So you've got a 6.5 second gap now between 6th and 7th place cars on track there, with Grobler and Cruz fighting with the Bentley and Audi. And then just behind that, that's Grunwald coming to the top of the hill. In fact, no, sorry, I beg your pardon. That's the other. That's Fuzi in the second car on track, similar colours. But Grunwald now with a 6.5 second or so gap over Rideau, who's got 1.2 seconds to Cardinal. So we're in for an epic finish here with these top 10.
It is. It's starting to all line up. We said the last hour of endurance races get incredibly crazy, and we're certainly seeing some examples of that up towards the front end of the order as well. So you know, for places that are going to pay out prize money, I'm sure down towards the back end of the field as well, there's cars that are, you know, on their own strategies against their own rivals. But it's always nice to keep your eye up towards the front end. We do appreciate all the competitors that have taken place today. Of course, the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour in partnership with Solidarity E-Race and powered by RaceFace. Our epic sponsors, NEC, DataSciences, Oxide, AMD, SuperMicro, all providing through for being able to allocate those prize pools out and, of course, cover the costs of the broadcast. It's been something that has been a long time coming, a long time in the planning, and you know, with 31 minutes to go, it's kind of like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I've used that analogy far too many times in the space of this weekend.
That's fine. It's exactly what you start to see, though. At this point in time, you're just praying that you don't start to get any cramps in your hands, in your toes, in your feet, in your seated position there, because that will definitely affect your ability behind the rigs that you're playing on. And is there going to be a chance now of changes that we're seeing? You know, that is Cruz in cruise control, but just behind him, a bit of marked and lapped traffic Grunwald not too far back off the line, and Cruz starting to rapidly close in on the back end of Grobler. So Grobler trying to close the gap down to Keeble. Keeble just maintaining there and staying just ahead to the tune of about 30 or 40 seconds. But that can also be brought down in the last 40 or almost 30 minutes to go. We're into the last half an hour in 18 seconds time. And Cruz is now looking to return the favor there on Grobler, who can now see dead in his sights.
Certainly some pace coming out from the number 11 Ragioli Racing EGA team. And I was a fan of their sort of social media posts, or the posters that they had made coming into this. And they certainly would love to get themselves up into that P6 spot. And of course, the Hybrid Academy, they're going to be wanting to finish as far up. We talked about it, we dabbled about it, had a big disconnect, had to find themselves down the order, and then making their way back through the field. So massive drives of the day up for consideration for the Hybrid Academy, in my opinion, not just from where they started originally, but dealing with those sort of issues that have taken place, and just putting their heads down and getting the best result that they could when we see that checkered flag wave.
I'm going to ask if Batters is listening to give us a little bit of an update in terms of those teams that he touted for best positions and most laps made up from their starting positions, and most positions that they've made up from those start positions as well. But certainly I have to agree with you at this point in time. This is certainly a firm favorite in terms of the drive of the day, due to that disconnect and their ability to get back into the top 7, and at this stage top 6, if they can keep Ricardo Cruz out.
I mean, interestingly enough, we get to also just see who's sitting in the steward's box from our POV, and Gillian Ryan Meenan was briefly in that steward's box, so I'm not quite sure what was going on there. Of course, he's driving at the moment in that lead number 96 car. 820 laps done so far, looking to get to about 840 or so laps, I think, by the time that we reach the end of all of this. But we did know that they had one of the problems with their driver Malinowski not being able to compete in the event. I think he did complete one lap, which is the requirement for all drivers to get out and do, as we continue to watch Ricardo Cruz in that number 11 Audi, trying to catch up and doing a good job at it right on the back end of Grobler in that 404 Bentley. So it seems like over the last couple of laps, just munching down into that late on the brakes, coming down into Crocodile, and you can just see that's the Hybrid Academy Bentley in front of them, sights set, and set for murder. Well, not murder, that's a horrible way to look at it. A clean pass and a positional take.
Yeah, there'll be a bit of blood on the dance floor, though, I think, if he comes through, because they're not going to be happy about it. As they come through to complete another lap, we're going to be completing 820 laps now for these drivers. A brilliant effort. That's, I think, 4 laps more than the last time.
Oh, look at the shot.
Here we go. 5 abreast into Crowthorne. That could end up in tears. And fortunately being given a little bit of room to play there, but so has Cruz. And that hasn't really helped Grobler out. He was expecting a bit more, I think, assistance, unofficial assistance, of course, coming from those back markers. But at 5 abreast into Crowthorne for turn 2, that usually ends up in a huge incident. And they were very lucky to survive that. But the battle continues here.
A request for 5 new sets of pants going out to all those drivers in their race seats, and certainly an interesting picture coming down there. Good screenshot that I would have made, but all the drivers doing the right thing and just making space for the on-track battle here. Cruz does lose a little bit of time in that. We saw them 0.2 of a second behind, and coming through the S's, just half a second is the gap, but certainly got the pace. Does this number 11 Audi at the top of the hill, looking to try and see if they can get the best exit that they can. A good opportunity coming down into Crocodile for a braking zone, and lights are flashing from the Hybrid Academy Bentley. They just want back markers to not get involved in this. They don't want to have to deal with lapped traffic and have to defend at the same time, but that's part of the racing. And EGA with a little cutback. They are going to almost go side by side through the cheetah.
Oh, there's the move.
Oh, it is the move. I think a good move then from Hybrid, just spotting out that was going to be a send coming up there, and not wanting to risk both of their race and finishing positions, just giving the space out to Cruz there in the number 11. The pace was there, certainly was catching up, and a good bit of spotting coming out from Grobler there, just to see it in the mirrors and not just come across the line.
Made it stick, but I think he could return the favor. He's not out of the battle just yet. And certainly trying to push it as much as he can to get up there and get back into that position, one higher than what he is right now. Dropped down to 7th place. That's where he was when I rejoined, of course, the commentary later in this morning, as opposed to the breakfast run that Clark and I did in the early sessions. But it's not over yet. I think if Krobler can just settle himself down, get himself back into a little bit of a rhythm, shake off what he's just had done to him. And we spoke about that with our American counterparts in saying that racing drivers have to have the shortest memory span in the world. You can't let a move like that affect you. You got to just shake it off and forget about it. And then when you pull a good move, you got to do the same thing. Just shake it off and get on with the race. So let's see whether or not we can get that up and going again, and whether we're going to see Krobler have another go at cruise by the time the checkered flag comes out.
An update from our stewards on the back end, of course. I think a couple of times in this race I've said that it was required for all the drivers to do a lap. That wasn't actually a stated rule in coming into this. So just keep an eye out on that number 96 of Kilian Ryan Meenan. If they do get some sort of penalty towards the end of the race, there was no max driver time that was stipulated in here. Of course, our automated systems that regulate how long drivers have driven for didn't quite work out the way that they were meant to. So we've seen our stewards pretty busy having to clear allocated penalties for drivers exceeding a max driver time, but that was never something that was meant to be considered here. So even if this number 96 does get some sort of a penalty coming in towards the line, that still would make them the winning car, regardless of those circumstances. So just an update there, so people can follow along.
100%. I'm about to post something that I've been itching to try and get, and I got it spot on. At 24 minutes and 24 minutes and 24 seconds to go in the Pure Storage Kyalami 24 hour, Nick Setnik, our producer, had this car in full frame, and I've got the shot I'm about to post onto the Voice of Choice. With 24 minutes, 24 seconds to go, the lead car in the Pure Storage 24 hour, and that's how much time we got to play here. So I'm going to put that up on my page, and hopefully everybody enjoys that. I've been dying to get that. I was hoping that Nick was going to go to the lead car at that point. I didn't care who was in the shot, but as I went to it, he went to Kilian, and I've got the shot. It's not a great photograph of any nature because it was taken on my mobile off a laptop screen, but needless to say, it's 24 of the 24 to go.
Greg hurting all nerds in the chat by taking a photo of his screen at the same time.
Oh, wait till you see that.
My inner nerd is
exactly
boiling. But I've been in the same space. I've done similar things and been called out for it. So just had to give you a little bit of banter.
No,
that's what it's
I
about.
love it. But the idea is, of course, is to just get that moment. I was itching to get it, and I thought to myself, if I try and do a screenshot, it's going to mess it up. The best way to get it where I'm not going to mess it up is to just take a photo with my phone and post it.
Let me introduce you to my little friend snipping tool. Saved my life multiple times in.
There you go. You see, I need to see that. I'll have to chat to you about that afterwards.
I can consult as an IT professional as well on the side. So there we go. We still see the likes of Cardinal just trying to catch up to Rideau. 1.6 seconds the gap then between the 88 and the 158. 21 minutes to go. So that's certainly a doable affair. Marcel Fuzi in the number 97, the second Sidemax Motorworks team. And for these guys, the Sidemax team, I chatted to Kilian last night. I said that their social media manager deserved a pat on the back. Such good representation over on the social media platforms. And that's an important team thing, and an important aspect of running a team is having a good presence, letting your viewers and your fans know where they can catch you. And there was big talk being thrown out by George Boothby in that number 96, saying that they wanted to come here and make this a hat-trick of victories in 24-hour events being held at Kyalami. And they've come out, they've delivered that, and I think even on top of that, having both of their cars finishing 1-2. I mean, for them as a team, I can only imagine as a team principal myself, what an amazing feeling that will be when we get to the checkered flag. So 20 minutes for them to sort of just keep that out, and we just got to keep an eye out to see that nothing goes catastrophically wrong for them. But with a good buffer of laps between them, it should be okay.
one thing we also got to mention, of course, is they're going for their third back-to-back 24-hour at Kyalami.
It's a big accomplishment. I mean, it's not like just winning 3 sprint races that you only had to commit an hour or so to. 24 hours of racing. Greg waited 24 hours to be able to take that screenshot that he posted over onto his Facebook page. So
exactly.
For all of us, there's been things that we've been looking forward to. I think for myself, it's been a highly stressful time getting this all organized and being on the commentary side at the same time, but I've loved it. It's something that I enjoy to do. For me, it's somewhere that I wouldn't trade in the world to be anywhere else. But sitting here and being able to call out what will be the closing 20 minutes now, 19 minutes 50 on the clock, Greg, and things still heating up. Keeble trying to catch up to the likes of Lewis. I don't think that that one is going to be in play just yet. We'll have to just keep an eye out and see if it is. But looking at the field of drivers, so many cars and so many drivers being able to say that they've completed this event, I think that's a big win, considering there were problems for a lot of the teams.
Yeah, if you take into account, we started with 47 cars on the grid, and we're still circulating with, I think, 37 of them. So that's an impressive lack of attrition in terms of this event. But it also shows you that the ACC format is a good format to not lose too many cars to technical problems or to issues that could potentially ruin a race team's attempt to finish 24 hours of racing. So hats off to the Solidarity E-Race team and to RaceFace, and of course to the Racing Club International broadcast team for using the ability of ACC to give us the action that we're seeing right now.
It's been great. I mean, we've had multiple different broadcasters come through, take stints, commentators coming through, and of course, Greg, you and Clark being able to join in with what we do here. That's been something special too. And I just want to give a big shout out to young Clark King. I know that he's probably not watching now, enjoying Mother's Day out as it is mandatory to do so. Big shout out to my mom as well. She's definitely not watching the race, but I want her to know that I love and miss her from this side of the world. But Clark King has done so much so far in his young life, and I think there's a lot of longevity there. So I hope, Greg, that you do take him under your wing and continue to give him experiences. And I mean, I've never met someone with just so much historical knowledge on racing from a young age, and having such an ability to also just broadcast it out.
Yeah, and call upon it when it's needed. It's incredible what he can do. He's certainly a big find and a gem that we've found in this process of launching our Solidarity E-Race platforms and events. With 17 and a half minutes to go, this is the man they've all got to try and catch, and unfortunately it's going to be too little too late now to try and do that. Let's take a run through, G, if I can, with you, as to how this is going to finish up, because a lot of times in an endurance race, there's always that question: is it exactly at 12 o'clock that the checkered flag comes out and the first car to pass the flag will get the checkered flag, or will they be waiting for the number 1 car to take that checkered flag after 12 hours?
It depends really where they are. So if that timer comes down before they've crossed the line, they'll cross the line finishing at around about 12 o'clock. If the pace is there from the number 96 and they cross over the line just before the timer comes down, that means that there'll be one more lap for the leaders to go through. So if that timer hits 0 before this car, the 96, has crossed the line, that will be the race ending finish for them. But at this stage of the race, you can't really predict it, because it all comes down to pace.
Yeah, my point is that the people that are watching now on our live stream on both Facebook and YouTube will be thinking to themselves, okay, well, when the checkered flag comes out, is that the end of the race, or do they wait to give the checkered flag to number 96 car? So we've got that now confirmed there from G. When that timer runs out, the flag comes out, whichever car crosses the line first will end the race. And of course, the winner will be dictated when that 9.6 or 9.7 car cross the line and take the checkered flag.
Yeah, and some of the cars down towards the bottom of the order, they'll finish up on the laps that they are on, in their relative positions that come down to it. But it's all governed up by that car that is up in at the lead. They will be taking the checkered flag first.
Fantastic. Other interesting aspect that happens, of course, at the end of any e-sport version of sim racing that I've been involved in is the antics on track afterwards. And hopefully Nick is ready for those. I'm expecting some big burnouts and some donuts to be thrown around by these very powerful cars on some very worn Pirelli rubber. If that's the case, I'm hoping that we catch a few of them as they get into the celebratory mode after 24 hours of racing.
I've often seen such things in the sim, of course, in ACC, coming into contact with other cars that affects your safety rating. I've often seen safety rating thrown away in lieu of celebratory donuts. So when you've raced for 24 hours, sometimes it's worth it to get a couple of burnouts in before it ticks over to the next session.
One firm memory that sticks out in our Solidarity race that you were involved in is, of course, the two teammates from Volkswagen Motorsport. One of them is a teammate, of course, to Grobler in that Bentley in 7th place, Daniel Rowe, who was, I think, really harshly dealt with his teammate from the real racing world, Jonathan Mahotsi. And Mahotsi was in the process of doing a massive burnout after his finish up. I think it was at one of the British High Tea events. And the next thing, Daniel Rowe went straight into the side of him just to say thanks for taking me out on track. Now the race is done, I'll return the favor.
Things that you can do in a sim you can't do in real life, right? I mean, those are definitely injuries you do not want to sustain at the end. The All-In Racing number 88 here, currently sitting in that 9th position spot, 2 seconds down the road from Grunwald. So even though the two Bentleys were pushing each other early on, haven't been able to sort of convert that into a pass on that 666 Audi. So just worth noting, you do always see them in shot when we are tracking along following the 88, but that gap closing down 1.9 seconds, the update, as they come through sunset. And I was a bit sad, Greg, we didn't get to see a sunset because of the clouds.
There was a bit of cloud cover yesterday afternoon when we went into that sunset to have a look at what the original version of the circuit's name was for that corner. That's one of the corners that has not changed from the original track as well. I think we're into the 5th version of Kyalami at the moment, so great to see. Clubhouse, S's, and the rise up to Leeuwkop are all part and parcel of the original circuit, which is always awesome to have. Speaking about that little gap, do you think the teams have now said to those drivers, okay, listen, guys, if something dramatically goes wrong, yes, have a go. But maybe let's just ease off and finish up now with 13 minutes to go?
I mean, it's probably there. It's probably, exactly the kind of mentality that teams have coming into it. You don't want to throw it away with 12 minutes to go, but if the opportunity arises, one small mistake can be more costly than 5 seconds. You go and brake a little bit too late, you go a little bit too deep into a corner, you misjudge an overtake onto one of the backmarked blue flagged cars, and suddenly that 5-second gap is just completely gone. So I think you just got to keep yourself focused all the way to the end. I think all the teams and principals are backing their drivers' ability, knowing that they can make time up. 1.3 seconds the gap now to that Audi, so certainly starting to put pedal to the metal is the number 88 All-In Racing Bentley. And maybe just listening to us a little bit on the side, saying, well, no, that's not, we're not going to set...
throwing my theory right out the window. No, just take it easy, let's get to the end. No, let's not. Let's go and take that Audi out.
We are not here to just settle pedal. We are here to put pedal to the metal, and it's certainly been a good race for a lot of these teams, and certainly a mixture of manufacturers. If you are in an Audi or inside a Bentley, the top 10 looking very much good for those manufacturers, and of course in Aston Martin sitting up in 5th place. I gave a lot of grief over to Aston Martins on my Twitter, and I might have to eat my own words, because where do we see the first Porsche?
Unfortunately down in 19th place, but the first Porsche has also had some issues of their own. A couple of disconnects and some technical gremlins that got in their way, which has hindered their progress. But take nothing away from that progress, because they came from 46th place yesterday afternoon and have ended up in the top 20. So good effort there from the Patterson boys and Olifant and Heineke, all part and parcel of that team. Quade Claessen's just behind that as well, also doing a superb job to get into the top 20 in their Audi. And then just looking, as I said, at Chris Radloff behind the wheel of 12th place car at the moment. We're looking at Cruz heading down into Crocodiles, but I'm just watching the timing sheet on the left-hand side, and give a shout out to Radloff, who comes from the Eastern Cape and part of the East London Grand Prix Circuit and Border Motorsport Club. and his team have had a superb end to this one, finishing up just outside of the top 10.
Good showing from a lot of real life motorsport drivers as well. Mixture of some talent in the real car, and obviously translates over to the ability in the sim, and then some just great sim drivers have taken place in this event. It's been phenomenal to see the collaboration between everyone. Of course, a mixture of international and local talent as well. It kind of summed up the way that we've spent the time in the commentary box as well, getting some of the UK correspondents out, our American teams, of course, you, Greg, and Clark coming in from South Africa, me being based from South Africa but moving to the UK. It's just been a collaborative effort to have some good racing out on the circuit, and so much fun. Closing 10 minutes now we go into for the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour, and I've said it so many times I didn't think we would see this moment.
0.7 of a second there between those two cars fighting for the final part of the single digits available, 8th and 9th place. And 8th and 9th place is up for grabs here. Let me tell you, I think Antoine Rideau has been told, give it everything you can. We've got nothing to hold back here. It's risk and reward time. You know, we're playing for either 500 or 400 Rand. Let's go for it. Why not?
Why not put it down? It's more than just the prize money as well for these drivers. It's the pride side of things, being able to take it all the way to the very end and be at this stage of the race, 23 hours and 50 minutes in, and being less than 7/10 between yourself and somebody else for a single digit positional change. That just shows how hard the racing has been, how much effort and time has been put in from all these teams and these drivers, and a massive shout out to all the entries that have managed to see it to the line. We had a dropout from Toro, and of course they were set to be one of the front running Porsches. They started up in P4, I believe, and unfortunately plagued with issues, had to drop out. They couldn't do their driver swaps, and they had to drop out. But yeah, there's been some real mixture of talent coming through that we've been able to highlight here, and hopefully this battle is not yet done between the 88 and the 66 on the run to the top of Leeuwkop.
Can you imagine if there was one lap less difference between Keeble, Cruz and Grobler? You'd be seeing a three-way fight here. Unfortunately, the Aston Martin in the foreground of that shot has got a lap in hand over these two behind him. But had he not had that lap in hand, there would be a three-way battle here for the top 5. With almost 5 minutes to go. So it's incredibly close, to be honest with you. After 24 hours of racing, to have these cars so evenly matched, and I'm talking about this kind of a fight, you know, the sort of top cars being the 3, 5, and 7 laps ahead, different story. But in terms of the bigger picture of this 24-hour, you've had an exceptionally close dice all the way through in various parts of the top 10, top 20, top 30, and even the top 40 at one stage.
It's been fun from the front to the middle to the end. You know, the different places in the pack. We haven't obviously been able to highlight everything that happens on the circuit. You know, we've done what we can, and sticking with what are the closest battles towards the closing phase of the race is important. On board then with the number 88, the All-In Racing Bentley, we kind of get a feel for just how close they are getting to that 666 Audi in front through sunset, as they make their way around here for the final couple of times in race time. Just about to go to 12 o'clock. 6 minutes on the clock for us to see who concludes this positional change. And the number 88 keeping that pressure on to the 66. I wonder if they do get side by side, if that does allow Cardinal to get involved in this, in that 158 behind him. 5.9 seconds down the road. Top of Leeuwkop getting very close to the back end for the hairpin left-hander on the run down now. Good place to kind of be on the run down to the braking zone for Crocodile. Kind of loses out a little bit in terms of car widths and lengths as they come down through the long sweeper fast left-hander and onto the brakes
up close
again.
And personal there.
That Bentley just has the ability to use that inside curb for the right-hander, and then both of them just avoiding the anti-cut. A little bit wide going Redu just to do a little corrective steering on that steering wheel, but this is a good place to now be.
666 with 6 minutes to go, and in a fight of note for 6th place, 7th place, and 8th place. They're not going to catch Cruz, I think, but 7 and 8 is definitely up for grabs here as they get into the closing stages here with just under 6 minutes of racing to go. There's a move. Late braking coming out of Rideau, looking for a way past, and just missing out there onto the back end of Grunwald. Grunwald is in big trouble here. Grunwald is having to fight for his life, and I think the man in the pound seats is definitely in the Bentley as opposed to in the Audi. Sitting and chasing as opposed to having to defend is always an easier thing to do. I take nothing away from the ability of both of these drivers. They've gone at it now for almost 45 minutes, and on a very similar vein in terms of the gap that was there. Remember, we did have Cardinale in there as well for a little while, and then a small mistake from him dropped him out of this race. But it's certainly not done just yet.
I mean, if 5 minutes to go is anything to indicate by that 5-second gap to that car sitting in P10 shouldn't be something that goes amiss, but we saw contact coming in between the two Bentleys. That cost them time. If anything happens between these two drivers, that will certainly add that number 158 back into the mix. Blue flags waving, of course, just indicating that drivers in front of these two cars are coming up for a lapped position. And now into the braking zone for that right-hander. This is where the mistake between the Bentleys was made, but that is a very close place to be in the Bentley as they follow themselves through Cheetah onto the splitter cam. You can just see the dirty back end of that Audi. The 666 wants to stay defensive. Oh, the lap traffic getting out of the way there and forcing Radu to try and have a look up the inside, but the Audi slamming the door down, saying this is not the place you're going to do it, mate. You're going to have to try harder than that.
And how much harder do you want him to try? This man alive, is he trying hard at this stage? It's an incredible effort here from him. To just been found wanting on a couple of occasions. He's attempted it on a few occasions. Maybe just, I don't know, maybe just playing the game here. You know, it's a case of there's probably about 2 or 3 laps to go in total. I would say probably 2 laps to go for these guys where they stand right now. And with 2 laps to go, he has to make a move, make it stick. Otherwise, it's going to end up in tears.
It is going to end up in tears. And for the viewers in the chat, if you are enjoying yourselves out here, 3 minutes to go before we conclude this race and crown our champions, all the way down to 10th winning prize pools. Leaving a share, leaving a like, leaving a comment, all of those kind of things, very much appreciated. All of this wouldn't be worth doing if we didn't have you guys as viewers to broadcast it to, would it, Greg?
No. And we've loved every part of your input. Loving the fact that you can interact with you guys on Facebook and in YouTube and in all the chat zones and WhatsApp groups that have been flying around for the last 24 hours. Probably going to be flying around for the next 24 hours as well, as the banter starts to pick up with, yo, what happened to you guys? Where were you? We were here, we saw you, and you nearly took us out. All of that kind of banter will certainly be flying around for the next 24 hours or possibly even for the next week. And into the planning, of course, for the next 24 hour. And where will that be? It'll be interesting to hear from our boss men later on in our planning for the next event.
We just have to sit here and make sounds with our mouths, and the organizers putting in the hard work to decide where we go. And sounds with our mouths we will make as the All In Racing 88 chases down onto the back of the BBR Racing 666. A nice view from the rear wing as we see the likes of Rideau trying to see if they can get past. It's been sort of something that's been lining up for a while, hasn't it? We've seen them catching a car and passing a car, 2 completely different things. A lot of inside curb being used out by that number 88 Bentley into barbecue. That's going to cost them the run down this little stretch before they make the right-hander of Sunset. And you can just see they get close. They haven't yet been able to pass. They've almost got alongside. This is the narrative to the end of the race.
And that's exactly it. You're going to be watching this battle right to the end of the race, and then also just keeping an eye out on the 96 car, who I think would probably be on his penultimate lap. If we've timed this... Oh, there's a move! There's a fantastic move out of the S's. Brilliant stuff there from the Bentley. Rideau has got through, and Grunwald was found wanting. He opened up the door. You don't want to do that with possibly 2 laps to go. And now we've got a hunt on from the Audi. Can he come back? You have to come back almost instantaneously if you want to make that move stick. And he's trying to do that. But there is defensive driving coming out of Rideau into Crocodiles now, with possibly a lap and 3 corners to go side by side. Brilliant stuff here from them. Absolutely amazing stuff as they came through into Crocodiles. And once again, it is the Bentley who's made it stick and is now going to try and hold on to it as they're going to start possibly the final lap.
What a move coming up through the S's to make that stick from that 88 Bentley. I also like the defensive maneuver coming down into the Crocodiles, just making that Bentley very wide. Saw the Audi coming from the outside of the track, trying to see if they could maybe get a cutback, but with the way that the Bentley had positioned themselves, just didn't allow for that opportunity to come through, and now trying to put pace in a little bit deep, actually coming down into Crowthorne. Might give some opportunity back, as Kyalami Ryan Meenan in that number 96 SideMax Motorworks car, I think, has gone onto the final lap here. I think they've crossed the line. So this should be the final lap that drivers get to get things done. And, I mean, that was a battle that was interesting. And I'm glad to see we saw it heating up and we got to see a pass coming in from the All-In Racing 88. They'll be chuffed to get themselves up into 8th place.
Exactly that. I know that Nick is probably watching out to see whether we're going to catch the checkered flag there for the 96 car. We're watching the battle as it continues here between Rideau and Grunwald. Grunwald, as I said, was up close and personal there and could have returned the favor almost instantaneously, but making mistakes like that is going to be costly to him. He's not going to be able to get that pass made if he keeps running wide and not hitting the lines he needs to do. To get back ahead of Rideau before the checkered flag comes out is going to be a tough ask.
It is going to be a tough ask. You see that race timer has hit 0. And here we go for the SideMax cars. Side by side, they'll come over the line. First and second place goes to SideMax. What a photo finish coming out. Taking home the victory in the Pure Storage 24-hour of Kyalami. What a finish coming out from SideMax Motorworks.
Can you please get that special app of yours to take that shot, please, as we get an instant replay. Here we go to the line between our two battlers. It's been a phenomenal battle. They put on a really good show into the closing stages, and they crossed the line with Rideau beating out Grunwald. The checkered flag eventually coming out for the two of them. But I think if you can, let's get an action replay of that photo finish. Formation flying coming out of the SideMax Motorworks Audis, 96 and 97 side by side. What a team effort! Remember, ladies and gents,
here we go, Greg.
This
just
is it.
Just what you requested.
Thanks, Nick. So, Ross, if you're on standby, make sure you get the screenshot of this, buddy. There they come, 96 and 97, side by side. Race winner and second place out of SideMax Motorworks team for 2021. Pure Storage, Kyalami, 24-hour winners and second place out of the same team. What a valiant effort from that team. Considering the fact they were down to 2 drivers for the lead car and still a full complement in the second car. Absolutely brilliant stuff there, George.
Oh, what a race finish that was for the SideMax team, and that makes it a hat trick for SideMax in 24-hour events. Incredible to see that they managed to get that done, and hopefully we'll be able to pull all the teams in for that driver interview. I might have to just dip out and just go and make sure we can get that all set up quickly for you, Greg.
That is fantastic. And once again, a massive thanks to you for all of the additional effort that you put in. But it's a part and parcel of that broadcast team with you behind the scenes, Battis behind the scenes, Nick, Stewie, and of course, Mike Jones behind the scenes as our production team. Our fellow commentators there, Jesse, and of course, Rai and our young protege, Clark King, putting in a valiant effort as well. There you have it, coming across the line, and of course a couple of cars still finishing up their sessions. You can see on the bottom it says the session has ended, but of course we now go live on camera, and I'm picking up on seeing exactly what's happening on the screen. I see that you're on the screen as well with me. I thought you were disappearing and going to go and sort out behind the scenes.
I mean, I was going to go and try and sort that out. I think I'm going to probably have to jump myself out at some point here. Of course, Nick, our producer, just getting everything lined up on his side and having us on here. So good to join all of you here. I'll jump myself out and just go and try and have a little setup. I know that we've got SideMax in at the number 96 ready to have an interview.
Fantastic stuff there, George. Thank you so much, buddy. So let's just run through that in terms of the unofficial results. As you can see it on the left-hand side of the screen is SideMax Motorworks and Kyalami Ryan Meenan who take the victory. Fuzi comes through for second place there in the 97 car in the second of the Audis. And then it's Utiel, Chartier and Kral that come through in the Bentley Continental there for All-In Racing. They're in third place. Lewis Krobler and Vessels, your top South African team. They will get best SA team as we're seeing some formation donuts on the front straight. If Toby Fenter could see that right now, there'd be a lot of trouble. But of course, this is not the real Kyalami. This is our virtual Kyalami at ACC, Assetto Corsa Competizione. Keeble in third place for the Aston Martin Vantage team. He was a great driver there to finish up the stint for Steele Vassen and Kellaway, the teammates. Then it was Cruz, Ricci, Bettini, Kevin Tade, and Centorini that made up our sixth place team. Seventh place, Grobler, Daniel Rowe, Fasaki, and Adam. Second place, South African team, and possibly, I'm just waiting to get confirmation on it, but possibly the winner of the ride and drive of the day. Rideau, Mahmoud, and Runart coming through there for eighth place for the Bentley Continental team, and beating out Grunwald right in the closing stages there. An epic battle that took us to the checkered flag for 8th and 9th place on track. And that was a super dice that literally went on for about 45 minutes between Rideau, Grunwald, and Cardinale, who were, of course, your 8th, 9th, and 10th place positions. And that, of course, is for the money. We've got 7,000 Rand going to team number 1, I beg your pardon, and 4,500 Rand to team 2, 3,000 for third, 2,000 for fourth, 1,000 Rand for fifth place, and then 700, 600, 500, 400, 300 for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place on track. Just outside of the top 10, Stratham, Barrington Smith, Vermeulen, and Schroeder doing a superb job for our third South African entry there. A magic job from them, beating out Heron, Villan, Lagarde, and More. Finish up in 13th place with Gray in the Bentley Continental, Isherwood, Buerta, Hall, and Ansel. Mark Ansel there in 14th place. Then you've got Kloove and Lochrenberg, Barbier, and Henbury, Mark Henbury, sticking with his guns of the Bentley Continental in 15th place. Ali's, Buerta, Kutzer, and Lucas finish up in 16th place ahead of Quayle, Anderson, Fox, Webster, and Wahlberg in 17th. Sean Buck, Janssen van Rensburg, Van der Merwe, and Pullen finish up in 18th place with Chris Heineke, Leslie Oliphant, Kieran, and Alan Patterson with DeSantos in that mix as well. A valiant effort from them. They were definitely in the running for drive of the day after all the disconnects that they had. Finish up from starting in 46th place when they reconnected and finishing up inside the top 20 in 19th place with a final car in the top 20 of Claessens, Van Zyl, Bentz, Lawrence, and Fenter. That is your unofficial results, of course. And I don't think we're going to see any protests from any of the drivers on those results. So a massive shout out to everybody involved in this one. We had 47 teams start the race. And if I'm not mistaken, Nick, we finished up with about 37 cars still on track. So not a huge race of attrition, which is not what we normally see in the real world of racing when it comes to 24-hour formats. But take nothing away from the valiant effort that was put in by every single one of over 200 drivers in the last 24 hours here at the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour. Georgie, you've got some interviews lined up for us, I hope.
I do indeed. I've dragged in that SideMax winning number 96 Motorworks team, and they are here for you, Greg. You can fire your shots.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, I've got to say, what does it feel like to have won Kyalami 24 hours 3 times in a row?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, we're fairly tired now, of course, but yeah, it feels great to do it.
There must have been a point in the race where you saw your teammates dropping out for various reasons, and we do send a shout out, of course, to I'm not quite sure which one of the 2 teammates had a personal issue, but hopefully that's all been sorted out. But you must have been a little concerned and worried about the fact that you'd have to try and get to the end with only 2 of you behind the wheel.
Yeah, for sure. It was I think it was 15 hours left on the clock, or 14 hours or something. We knew it was the 2 of us. Luckily, I'm in Ireland and Michael is in Canada, so time zone sort of works in our favor for nighttime stints, but the most we can really do is 3 in one go, and it's not that long of a length of time to sleep. So we just slept when we could, get back in the car and go again. But no, very happy it's done. It was nice to drive, and yeah, I'm completely dead now. I'm completely dead.
Yeah,
I've got to say again from our side, I cannot believe the effort that was put in from your team. Have we got Michael in the background as well?
Yeah, sorry, I'm absolutely knackered as well, but I'm here. I woke up to see us cross the line, so yeah, it feels really good.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations. I won't keep you from getting your rest in. It's well deserved. Please pass on our congratulations to the other 2 members of the team. And as I said, also just a concern from Solidarity E-Race, the RaceFace team, and the entire production team as well. hopefully, whatever the personal issues were, they are not too serious, and whoever was involved there has been able to sort them out. But from our side, a massive congratulations, and thank you so much for bringing the international feel to the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour in association with Solidarity E-Race and powered by RaceFace.
Thanks for having us, and yeah, thanks for putting on the event. It was really fun when we enjoyed it. Both cars really enjoyed it, so thanks very much.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
there you
guys.
have it. Thank you, George, for setting that up. I think you've got our next couple of guys that'll be standing by as well. Our best South African team is who we need to be catching up with next. And of course, that will be going to 4th place in the Audi. And finishing up in that Audi, of course, was Brett Lewis. But it's Grobler and Stephen Vessels who were behind the wheel. Also a 3-man team. Incredibly to see that. Not a 5 or 4-man team that we saw. But if we can get them lined up, that'll be really cool.
I'm gonna bring in our second place finishers
no
as
problem.
well first.
No, that's fine. No problem. Let's get in there. I'm just going with what you've got. We'll go with the flow.
The other sister Sidemax entry coming in here. So a 1-2. We saw that happen at the end, Greg. So just got
yes, we did,
as
and
well.
Formation flying as well, guys. Do you guys plan that formation across the line? It was brilliant stuff and made for an epic photograph. If we could get that on a screenshot at some point.
Yeah, it was planned. We wanted to cross the line side by side. So yeah, the 96 just went through the pit lane once, and then we were right behind each other, and then we finished 1-2.
Fantastic. I love it when you put a plan like that together. That's the way to do it. But gentlemen, it was not an easy run to the line. You guys had a lot of battles that you had to contend with early on.
Yeah, definitely. I started in P7 and got a clean stint, got up to P2 at the end of my first stint, so that was a really good start. And then we were thereabouts for the whole race, and then the Bentley came pretty close, so we had to battle. But luckily we came out on top.
It's not always easy to do that, especially when you've got the likes of, you guys had 5 drivers in your team. The team dynamics, whereabouts are all the drivers based, and how does it affect you in terms of the time zones and availability of drivers?
It wasn't bad in our case because we are all not that far from each other. I mean, in the sister car it was pretty extreme with Michael being in Canada, but from our side it was pretty alright. Everyone showed up to their stints nicely every time, so we didn't have any issues with that. Yeah, in terms of stint times, it went really smooth, so we can't complain about any of that.
I think my next question is going to be, what are you going to do about that sister car? With 3 wins at Kyalami, is it not time for the 97 to possibly spoil their day?
We're too slow.
Oh.
Well, it'd be nice to go around cheetah without having a car sideways. That'll also help.
I think for a lot of teams and drivers, they'll be hoping for the same sort of thing out of cheetah.
Yeah, I remember going through and seeing a Ferrari sideways, and I'm like, this is going to end well.
There were a few occasions where you guys sort of came up close and personal to incidents in front of you, which could have spoilt the day pretty badly.
Yeah, the general backmarker situation was, let's say, quite tense, with people like screwing around the track and sometimes going the wrong way while they're trying to turn around the car. So that was quite intense sometimes, and a lot of avoiding, especially in the night when everyone is tired. Quite difficult, but we only had like the one incident where Owen just T-boned a Ferrari, which was like the heaviest incident we had.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that live.
We saw that one. Yes, we did.
And had to see you guys going in to repair that. So I guess that is kind of something, not having a split separation between sort of the pros, the aliens, and of course some of the amateur teams that just signed up, wanted to complete the event. But we give you guys big props for being able to mitigate as much of that as possible, and being respectful out on the track, and understanding that some teams and drivers are relatively new to this sort of industry that you guys are very much familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, everyone starts at some point, and they were behaving most of the time. They were behaving good, made space, and mostly avoided any contact. So they've done well, and always doing 24-hour races is always demanding. So yeah,
I think we can't complain too much about the other cars. So yeah, it was good racing.
Well, gentlemen, once again, massive congratulations from us to both of the team cars, and for you guys for second place. I'm sure that the 4,500 Rand will be split nicely between the five of you. And we wish you all the very best. And please make sure that you stay tuned to the Solidarity E-Race and RaceFace portals so that we can let you know about future plans for other events that we're going to be putting together here as part and parcel of our event. So well done to our SideMax Motorworks Audis 1 and 2 for the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour. Who have you got lined up for us next there, G-Max?
I think next we've got our best finishing South African team, the Arashi Racing Boys. So I'll just pull everybody out and get them in here.
Right,
just
cool.
Give me a second. Thanks very much,
Well,
SideMax.
while you're doing that, I'll just run
us.
through that. It is Brett Lewis, Krobler, and Vessels that we're going to be looking to get into this as well. And once again, a massive thanks to all of the guys there from SideMax for joining us too, and having a chat to those five drivers. It looks like a nice team rapport amongst those drivers as well. They've got some really great chirps amongst each other, and of course great chirps for the drivers out on circuit as well. But of course, looking to wrap things up here with our best South African placed team. It was pretty tight between the South African teams in the end, and eventually getting it all sorted out there as they start to join us here. It is fantastic to have Lewis, Krobler, and Vessels all in the mix here. Gentlemen, you must be pretty ecstatic to be the highest placed South African team in the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour.
Don't
That's
all
where you
speak at
speak,
once.
Brian.
Oh, sorry. My apologies, man. It's actually Zlako. We actually kept pace. I didn't think we had one penalty or drive through. We were a bit lucky with not disconnecting. I think there was one part where
We
I
almost
lost connection for
disconnected.
like 4 seconds. After that, it was pretty just head down.
Head down and racing is not always easy to do in a 24-hour, and particularly when you've got 3 different drivers. I'm not going to say of different skill levels, but because most of you are pretty much matched in terms of your ability behind the wheel of the car. But there were occasions where you got up close and personal, and even a little bit more up close and personal on other drivers out on circuit.
That's also referred to you, Brian, at the top of Luke.
Exactly. I'm not going to say anything. But, yeah, well played there. That is all about comments to Brian.
Unfortunately, when you have an hour of sleep, yeah, it kind of caught me off guard a couple times. But yeah, let's just keep it there.
Gentlemen, from a South African point of view, this event has seriously stepped up the level of competition in esports and sim racing in South Africa. It's kind of been the move that Solidarity E-Race has done coming into this world. I'm not looking to take on anybody's mantles or destroy any leagues that are happening out there, but to put events of this nature on, which bring in all of those racing leagues and potential other drivers from other events to participate not only nationally, but now for the first time internationally. Do you think there's merit in doing this on an annual basis and maybe looking at other events throughout the year on a similar vein?
That's a bit of a difficult question, eh? I guess you have to find out if your sponsors are willing to do it. There's more than one party applicable here, but I think from a community side, everybody would want to do it. It was super fun. We enjoyed it. Yes, there were some growing pains, but that's why we do it. We learn. Next one will only be better. So I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of community interest, and the next one might be twice as big, for all we know.
That's certainly what we're hoping for, I think, hey, George?
For sure. I think from the get-go, I've said it so many times that I don't even know if I've said it too many times, but growing the scene and getting to see the competition on track between South African drivers and, of course, the rest of Europe and some of the North Americans joining in as well, as we heard coming through, and Canadians. It's something that I wanted to see in the bigger picture. I hope that we can do more going forward. I certainly know that we've got a long list of things that we're going to sort of have a debrief after the race is done. Everyone's had some rest and see what we can plan for the next one. But I hope for these things to be an ongoing thing.
Well, once again, guys, congratulations there. 4th place overall. That's going to see a nice 2,000 Rand headed your way. But of course, also the accolade and the pride of being SA's #1 team in the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour. Wish you all the very best, and I hope you guys are going to come back for more if we do set up another event like this.
We'll definitely be back, hopefully with an additional driver, because 3 is just crazy. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
No.
My first enduro race ever.
Yeah, and first race is a team, so first race is a team as
that.
well. So
I only got a piece a month and a half ago. So yeah,
it was a bit of a
That's
last-minute team. Spoeg and plak, if you want.
I like the way you did that.
I
But-
know exactly what that means. If you guys want translations.
But
I've
yeah,
only done
like,
one PC race prior to this. JC was like, "Come race with us." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's go."
yeah, super proud of the guys. It was really fun, and well done to the Sidemax cars. Like, super consistent, super pace. Unfortunate for GTWR, and well done to everybody finishing. Thanks for hosting this, guys. It was super fun.
Thank you so much, guys, and yeah, keep us. We'll keep you informed as to any of the progress into the future and events that could possibly be happening in the very near future or into the future here of 2021, and possibly an annual event here at Kyalami as well. Well done, SA's #1 team there, 4th overall, Lewis Schrobler and Vessels in the Audi #100. Brilliant stuff. Gee, who have you got lined up for us next? I hope we're going to be looking to try and pick up on a bit of banter there between yourself and Rai. Drive of the day, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we even need to go into that.
Yeah.
Tell me what your thoughts are.
I think we've all come to the conclusion. We've cleared it with the boss men above us as well. Drive of the day going to go out to the Hybrid Academy team, of course, captained out by Daniel Rowe. They found themselves all the way towards the back end of the pack, made it all the way up the field. And I've got Daniel Rowe here actually to chat to you. You're familiar with Daniel, so should be a good interview, and you can let them know about their prize money.
Yeah, I think let's get him in here. Daniel, son, how are you?
How's it? Good and you, man.
Are you feeling the effects of 24 hours of racing, buddy?
Definitely. I think the driver that felt it the most of us is Tariq. He pulled off like 2 double stints within 6 hours, early morning. So yeah, hats off to everyone in our team.
Yeah, hats off as well to being the 2nd South African team to finish up the 24 hours. But more importantly, we've got some exciting news for you, because amongst all of the commentators, that of course being Jesse Lee, Mike Jones, myself, Clark King, Rai, and G-Max, we've decided that drive of the day or drive of the race goes to your team. So that's an additional 1,000 Rand headed your way, guys, for the effort that you put in and the disconnect, and to return to finish up in the top 10. Incredible effort there, buddy.
Awesome, yeah. Thank you so much for that nomination. I definitely feel like we deserve it of that nomination. It was incredible, yeah.
I promise
I know
they didn't bribe me with a PayPal donation to get that nomination.
We'll check on that. We'll check on that.
No one wanted to take me up on that. I'm a bit disappointed.
I nearly did, hey? I nearly did. I was hoping to get the Ferrari up there, but you were so fighting for that Porsche, and then, of course, they all disappeared on us. So at least you got a Porsche in the top 20. A bit disappointed in the Ferrari guys. But Daniel, just to go back to you, buddy, having been a driver in the team principal as well, you couldn't have had too much sleep over the last 24 hours.
No, not at all. Probably similar to what Brian mentioned, about an hour. It's difficult to sleep when you're not knowing what's going on. You know, you're curious all the time, and it's also ideal to have somebody alongside whoever's driving at all times. And as driver one, it's difficult to stay away from it, because you need to be there in case of a possible disconnect again. So it was rough. The start of the race was tricky with all the invisible cars, so we had to make an early stop to try and avoid a big crash. And then just before I was supposed to take over, we got disconnect, so it was unlucky, but it is what it is. And it's first 24 hour for some of us in the team, and it was a great experience and awesome job by RaceFace and Solidarity and Pure Storage and all the sponsors.
Well, buddy, I know that you've got about 2 weeks to go before we see you in action again, and I'm hoping I'm preempting this correctly because I saw a bit of banter going out on social media and having a chat to Desiree and to Dad. Good possibility that we're going to see the golf involved in the South African Endurance Series in 2 weeks' time down at East London Grand Prix Circuit. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll be competing, myself and Keegan Masters, in the 4-hour at East London. Another one in August in Port Elizabeth, and then possibly the Kyalami 9-hour in December. So that's some interesting and exciting stuff to happen.
Certainly a different format of racing compared to what you've just done over the last 24 hours, but probably as grueling when you're in the cockpit of a real race car.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's a bit more physical, but I think mentally it's going to be very similar, just as tough. So, and I think trying to get some rest or whatever. I mean, you don't have to rest as much. Obviously, it's not a 24-hour, but mentally it's still very demanding. So, yeah, I'm very excited. I'm glad that Volkswagen have decided to explore something new, something different, away from sprint racing. So yeah, exciting.
In a proper race-built car, I've got to tell you, that Golf 8 GTI is something pretty spectacular.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be even more spectacular in the endurance scene.
Well, we look forward to that one. I'll see you down in East London in 2 weeks' time, and thank you so much for joining us. Please pass on the congratulations to your team. It's the Bentley in 7th place, the 2nd place South African team of Daniel Rowe, Grobler, Versaki, and Adam, finishing up our Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour as the drive of the day. Well done, guys.
Thanks very much, Jan. Thanks to everyone else, and well done to all the other competitors.
Cheers,
Daniel, son. All the very best. There's Daniel Rowe catching up with us. Thanks, G-Max, for sorting that out. G, we basically all sorted out now. Those were the interviews that we needed to cover.
Done and dusted.
24,000 Rand going to be passed it on. I can let you know an interesting information that came through from Ross and the team at Solidarity E-Race. Over 10,000 Rand going to the Quad and Para Association, courtesy of the entries for this race as well. So a good cause and some phenomenal racing.
A great showing, a great cause, some good racing on the track. I just want to give a quick personal shout out to the stewards that were behind the scenes: Russ Sibbalt, Travis Faree, Vaynant Kersop, and of course Jason Isherwood, making sure that that race was stewarded for the entire duration. A lot of hours taking place behind the scenes. So just a little shout out to them for the magic that they managed to perform, and of course the broadcasters whose voices you didn't hear, but managed to get us through that entire 24-hour, almost no footage dropped, and keeping us on pace with all the action on the track.
100%. I have to attest to all of that, and congratulations once again to our stewards in the race control room, to our broadcast team in the background, Nick, Stewie, and Mike. And we did hear Mike, of course, one of our broadcast production crew. But once again, also a shout out to everybody involved. It looks like the boss man has just jumped in as well. Mr. Crichton, are you in the house?
Not to talk to you guys.
Oh, you're in the house to talk to us. That's very nice.
No, I just sorry, I was actually not meaning to get on the stream, but I just wanted, from a solidarity point of view, and I just want to say a huge shout out to Bertus at RaceFace and the whole sim community for getting together and putting on just an amazing collaboration of an event. So just thank you very much. It was just awesome.
Battis has just joined us. I'm sure he'd also like to have a little word in there with the amount of effort that's been put in from both Solidarity E-Race and RaceFace's collaboration. Battis, from your side, happy with how things have turned out?
Well, it's been the longest 24 hours of my life so far, but it's been great. And I also just want to say thanks to you guys, the streamers, the commentators, the stewards, and to Ross and all the sponsors, everyone, and obviously the viewers and the drivers. It's been great, and it's one of those items on your list that you want to do. We wanted to do the first 24-hour on ACC by a South African community, and I think we've done it. And so on to the next one.
Phenomenal effort there. George, a final word from you, buddy.
It's time to sleep for all competitors. A massive shout out to all the sponsors for getting involved. Big thanks to you, Greg, for adding your voice of choice to the stream. And of course, my fellow commentators for duration, for putting up for me, with me for that entire race. It was a good race. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we got planned next.
Yeah, me too. Congratulations once again to the two SideMax Motorworks Audis coming through for a 1 and 2. It's a triple there for the lead car in terms of 24 hours at Kyalami. Can you imagine what RaceFace and Solidarity E-Race have got planned for us in the near future? Stay tuned to all of our social media platforms to find out what that's going to be. But on behalf of Pure Storage, NEC, Data Science Corporation, Oxide, SuperMicro, AMD, Racing Club International, here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. My name is Greg Maloney. I'm the voice of choice in South African motorsport. And on behalf of all my commentators and the team behind the scenes here at the Pure Storage Kyalami 24-hour, we'll see you very soon. Take care then. Bye-bye now.